Bob Sweeney goes to center ice for the Sabres with Donald Odette and Randy Wood. Kirk Muller for the Canadiens, Benoit Brunet, Mike Keane, and Lyle Odeline has it. We're underway with Game 4 of this Adams Division Final. Grant Ledger at center ice, watched by Brunet. Puck comes free for Randy Wood. He'll try the right wing in his dump. Puck cleared out, and Brunet sends it into Buffalo territory on Grant Fuhr. Denis Savard not in the lineup tonight. Mario Roberge is. Jesse Belanger back in. But Roberge in to make sure that the Sabres don't take advantage of the physical play. Here's Muller in the zone. He's checked by Sweeney. Bob Sweeney centers. Wood just shot it wide off the skate of Eric Desjardins. First good chance of the game goes to Buffalo. Now Patrice Brisebois rolling it down into the Sabres zone, and both teams make changes. Doug Botcher now up off the boards, and it's Haller, the former Sabre, flipping it back into Buffalo territory. Botcher lost it. It's in front, and Mario Roberge, in his first appearance in this series, came close to another quick start for the Canadiens. They'd scored first in all 3 games, early in all 3 games. As a matter of fact, Buffalo has not led in this series at any point. Off the dasher past Howard-Check out to center ice. Carbonneau with Ronan and Roberge for the Canadiens. Grant Ledger for the Sabres. Look for Erie, but that hit Carbonneau, and here's Guy Carbonneau inside the line. Shot, and he fanned on it. It was blocked. In the corner, Sutton goes after it against Roberge. Swept around the boards, kept in by Odeline. There's a shot going wide. Haller on the far side. Ledger gets his stick on it. Now back at the point, Roberge. Behind the goal, past DiPietro. Erie on the near side. He hit Odeline, bouncing puck. And it comes down for DiPietro. Here's Vincent Damphousse. Keane's in front. Damphousse, 11 points in the playoffs, hangs on to it. Back to Odeline. He'll drop it off. Keane has more points than any Canadian in this series. Out in front it goes off a Sabre. Now a penalty is coming up. Paul Stewart about to call the first penalties of the game as Odeline was tied up with Erie at the blue line.
And the question is, do they both go or just somebody going?
And it looks like they're both going as they finally open the gate. You know, Jacques Demers doesn't have an easy task. And you see Denis Savard, he's got a new role tonight. He's on the walkie-talkie with one of the assistant coaches upstairs, but then he's in behind the bench for some inspiration. Jacques doesn't have an easy job, Chris. You know, it's your team is up 3-0. You've got to keep them focused. You have to keep them from starting to think about Pittsburgh or someplace like that. So we get Erie and Odeline as Stewart cracks down early with a penalty here at 2:37 as they exchange grabs, tugs, and punches. So we got a four-skater aside situation very early in this game, as again we get a look at Denis Savard helping out Jacques Demers tonight behind the bench. You know, Jacques during the Quebec series did something a little different. He went to some of the veteran players for some advice.
Jacques was telling me about an hour ago that he thinks Denis Savard would be a great assistant coach, good communicator with the players, and great understanding of the game. And he'll communicate with Charles Tifo tonight, who is watching the game upstairs. Usually Charlie's on the bench, but tonight it is Denis Savard. So 4 skaters aside. That's Yuri Himalev, and it's called on the 2-line offside.
Well, we've mentioned the Montreal changes. 3 players out, 3 new ones in, as opposed to the other night. Matthew Schneider still injured. But Rob Ramage, Denis Savard, and Gary Lehman all played the other night. They are out. In their places, Jesse Belanger, Mario Roberge, and Sean Hill on defense in place of Ramage. Naturally, with McGillney and Pat LaFontaine out, there are some changes for Buffalo, and in Bob Corkum and Matthew Barnaby. But Pat LaFontaine was playing hurt all the way through the Boston series. There's no doubt about that from what people tell us here in Buffalo. And it just got to be a little too much with the pounding that his knee took in Game 3.
Himalev turns it center, now feeds it off. It's a shot steered away by Patrick Roy. And Sweeney at center ice. Sean Hill out for the Canadiens, seeing his first action as Doug Bodger brings it in. And that deflects off the stick of Sean Hill over the glass, out of play. 1:23 left in the coincidental minors at the odd in Buffalo. Face off to the right of Patrick Roy in the Canadian zone. Guy Carbonneau and Dave Hannon. 4-on-4 situation continues. Hannon wins the face-off. There's Presley with a shot and a pad save from Patrick Roy. Sean Hill. He's being forechecked by Hannon. It comes to the far side, and Mike Keane there. He's bumped by Presley, and the Sabres will try to put as much heat as they can on the Canadiens in their own zone, as they did successfully in the second half of Game 3 on Thursday night. At the line, Hannon. Presley shot right on, and Patrick will hold on for a face-off.
To get back to Jacques Demers and the Canadiens, one final thought. One thing he reminded his team of was an experience he had coaching the Detroit Red Wings when Steve Yzerman was injured and out of a playoff game or two, and he says the opposition figured it'll be a lot easier without Yzerman in there, and he said we beat them. Chris mentioned the early goal, the earliest of all here in Game 3 after only 14 seconds. But the Canadiens have scored the first goal in each of the first 3 games, and every time before the game was 3 minutes old.
So a moral victory, at least for the Sabres tonight. They've made it 3:43 into the game, and they're still even with the Canadiens. But it would be a big boost if they could get the first goal tonight to finally get a lead in the series. Presley came close to intercepting in the Canadian zone at center ice. Hannon feeds it back to his defenseman. And now Ledger. 30 seconds to go in the penalties as the puck's cleared in. Patrice Brisebois. Did he score the other night, or was it Dion? Dion gets official credit, and now Eric Desjardins comes out with it. A much talked about game-winning goal by Gilbert Dion. Mike Keane in the zone. He's bumped by Ledger, and the Sabres will turn out. Dale Hawerchuk's on the ice, and Hawerchuk takes the pass. Hawerchuk working against Daniel, drops it back. Presley in. Oh, Patrick Roy sprawled across to make the save. So the Sabres have had a couple of good chances early, but the Canadiens goaltender has been sharp again. Bodger back into his own zone. Spellick off the boards, and it comes out to center. Both teams back at full strength as the puck is cleared over the glass and out of play.
Mentioned off the top of the show, the Sabres have lost a lot of their skill level, and indeed they have. You don't take LaFontaine and McGillney out and not be able to say that, or have to say that. So Dale Hawerchuk's still out there, and we just saw it right there. And Patrick Roy coming to the rescue. Hawerchuk against the 2 defensemen. Daniel trying to ride him out, but Hawerchuk with a good play. The other defenseman was drawn over. That sent Presley in right side as he cut across that way, but Roy managed to sprawl and deflected wide of the net. You see that Dale is wearing the C tonight in the absence of Pat LaFontaine, but I'm sure he feels that there's a little bit of extra pressure on his shoulders.
And no doubt he'll see a little extra attention tonight with the Canadiens' best checkers on him instead of LaFontaine. But he has been Buffalo's best throughout this series. Canadiens flip it in. Jesse Belanger is on the ice with Gilbert Dion. Hit by Odette. Puck cleared around by Schmelik. On the near side, Hill pinching in. Kept in at the point by Belanger. Bouncing puck behind the goal. Benoit Brunet centers, and Belanger missed the pass. And out breaks Buffalo. Randy Wood with it to Donald Odette. Odette takes a look. Puts it across the front of the goal, and Hawerchuk's pass to the point comes outside the line. And another puck flipped into the crowd as a souvenir.
Benoit Brunet's played some pretty good hockey for the Canadiens. Another injury-plagued season for Brunet, but he has been able to last all the way through the playoffs anyway, and he's been as effective as he has ever been in his young NHL career. Canadiens on the verge of a sweep, trying to stay focused. Hawerchuk and the Sabres, of course, trying to battle back, and they were hauling out the stats today, as always. In a case like this, it's only happened twice. Team down 3-0 in a best-of-7. Once in 1942, Toronto over Detroit. 1975, Islanders over Pittsburgh.
Well, the chances are so remote, but yet they talk about it here, I think, Dick, because the Sabres have been so close in each of the first 3 games. In fact, Jacques Demers saying yesterday that it could very easily be 2-1 Buffalo in the series. You heard Dale Hawerchuk in the opening talk about the way they ended the year with 7 straight losses. Everyone pronounced them dead before they started against Boston, and then they won 4 straight against the Bruins. Bellows pinned against the boards. John LeClair after the loose puck against Schmelik. Now Sweeney in to help out. And Bob Sweeney gets it outside the line. Lyle Odeline to Bellows. And Odeline gets it back again. Yuri Himalev almost stole it in the Canadian zone, and now Kirk Muller with it. Muller double teamed, and the Sabres come up with it ahead to Hannon. Dave Hannon. Bob Airey was scooting on right wing. The pass doesn't get through. And now Odeline off the boards, kept in at the line by Holder. Holder whacks at it, loose in front. Airey is hauled down, or check that, Dave Hannon. And a penalty coming up, a hooking call against Kevin Haller of the Canadiens.
That play set up by a good move by Bill Holder at the left point at the Montreal blue line, who kept the puck in, knocking it down with his hand as the Canadiens tried to clear the zone. So the first power play of the night goes to the Sabres, who are 4 for 16 on the power play in this series. So the ex-Sabre in the Canadiens lineup, Kevin Haller. Right of your screen, there's the hook under the armpit of Dave Hannon, and the Sabres are on the power play.
So a chance here for the Sabres to strike first with Hawerchuk, Wood, Odette, Bodger, and Holder. Canadiens win the draw, though, and fire it down the ice. Bodger back to get it. He has points in each of the first 3 games of this series. And a couple of power play goals. Wood can't get to the line. Now Holder with it. Bodger clears it in. Funny hop. Patrick Roy caught behind the goal, but the Canadiens clear it.
Oh, those wandering goaltenders. The strange hops the other night, as I recall, Chris, seemed to come off the glass more than off the boards. That one came off the boards.
Bodger leads them out again. Minute 20 to go in the power play. Sabres haven't been able to set up yet, and the puck goes out of play.
And where's the faceoff? Deep in the zone or out a little bit? Deep in the zone. Kirk Muller is, of course, a threat for Montreal offensively or defensively. Much was made here over the fact that Bob Sweeney, with Muller having the last change, of course, at Buffalo, he can get his guys out. Muller did the job on LaFontaine in the early games. Sweeney assigned to Muller the other night, and it looks like that's going to be what happens here tonight again.
Patrick Roy third in the Stanley Cup goaltending stats, behind Curtis Joseph and Tom Barrasso in goals against and save percentage, and on a 7-game win streak.
And the other game involves Tom Barrasso tonight. Pittsburgh and the Islanders at the Nassau Coliseum. We'll keep you posted.
Minute 17 left in the power play. It comes back to Bodger. He has room and fires just wide. Puck behind the goal for Brad May. Cleared by Carbonneau. Another funny hop, and this one went by Bodger down the ice. And there's exactly a minute to go in the Sabre power play. Dale Hawerchuk. On the right side it goes. Hawerchuk after it again. He'll have it in the corner. Tried to feed it to Brad May. Chance for Muller along the boards, and he wins that battle and gets it down. Fuhrer quickly back up the ice. Hawerchuk there. With Sweeney now on Himalev as they hit the line. Loose puck for Bob Sweeney. Tried to thread it through. It went off a Canadian stick to the corner. Room for Muller, and he'll clear it again. Ken Sutton and Benoit Brunet, who almost stole it from Grant Fuhrer. Oh, a dangerous pass there, almost picked off by Carbonneau, but now the Sabres move into the zone. Bob Airey on the backhand. Can't get control of it. Presley feeds the point. Back to Schmelik. Richard Schmelik cross ice, goes to Sutton. There's the shot right on. Rebound, Airey can't control, and the Canadiens back at full strength. Benoit Brunet missed the pass, or they may have had a 2-on-1. Back back in for Buffalo. Presley's hit against the boards, and the Canadiens clear it out. 10 minutes and 54 seconds left, first period. Still scoreless at the odd in Buffalo. Sean Hill for the Canadiens. Schmelik lost control. There's Belanger. Wrists it in front. Pass in front. Donfus spinning, and he shot wide. They have caromed off a stick. Donfus after it again. Schmelik watching him. Donfus springs free. Back to Sean Hill. Shot right on. Rebound to Hannon. He can't control it. And now the Sabres get it out to center. Hill pounds it over the glass and out of play. 10:18 left first period. Vinny Donfus turning up the heat against the Sabres.
This crowd is not entirely for the Buffalo Sabres, as you can see. There's smattering of Montreal Canadiens jerseys in the crowd here tonight, plus the flags and the pennants. And the Go Habs Go that they started to chant early in the game.
And a glimpse of Killer Barnaby, Matthew Barnaby, the Ottawa native, playing in his first Stanley Cup playoff game. Played a couple of games late in the season for Buffalo, after the Quebec Junior playoffs had concluded for him. And Barnaby out on the line with Bob Corker. Bouncing puck in on Pure. It'll be interesting to see how Barnaby reacts. He's lined up against defenseman Sean Hill, and in his first NHL game, he had his first NHL fight against Sean Hill. Played 2 games, 2 fights, and a goal against the Philadelphia Flyers. Barnaby fanned on that pass cross ice. And Hill clears it back in for the Canadiens. Bill Holder. Cross ice pass, and it's flipped out to center ice. J.J. Daigneault there. Carbonneau challenged by Ledger. Loose puck and cleared in by Colin Patterson. Howard check after it. Randy Wood in now. Wood centers it. Tapped away by Patrick Roy. Wood goes after it against Guy Carbonneau. J.J. Daigneault now. As Wood tries to forecheck the Canadiens deep in their own zone. Botcher pinching in. Loose puck, and Wood knocks it back into the corner. He takes Odeline to the boards, and again the puck deflects over the glass and out of play. Pretty good shift for Randy Wood of the Sabres. Welcome back to the odd in Buffalo. Play just underway. Brad May against the boards, battling John LeClair. Keith Kearney trying to help out. Puck still free, and now it's Haller hitting the line, and he is met right at the line by Doug Bodger. There's LeClair spinning and shooting with Pure down. In the corner, LeClair centers. Bellows shooting, and he fired it wide. And now Keith Kearney comes out for the Sabres ahead to Brad May. Flipping it in behind the Canadiens' goal. Himmelev forechecking, and the Canadiens clear it down the ice. Schmelik will go back, and this is icing against Montreal.
Closed captioning of tonight's game is sponsored by Household, providing Canadians with a family of financial services.
Dick, you mentioned the hard sell that Jacques Demers had with his team yesterday. He said, I am a salesman, and I've been selling this team confidence all year, but he did caution them yesterday that the series had not yet been won. .8:02 to go, first period. And Hannon against DiPietro on this face-off in the Canadian zone. Dave Hannon with it against the boards. He's out with Bob Airy, and Presley planted in front. Hannon hanging on to it, but Brisebois hanging on to him. Here's Schmelik shot wide of the mark. Far side for Sutton. Behind the goal it goes. Presley looking to center it. Works against Brisebois in front, and he put it through the goal crease. Sutton now tied up by Donfus. It's kept in by Hannon. There's Bob Airy deep in the zone. Airy watched by Desjardins. Sutton in to help out. Back to Schmelik. Wrist shot right on, and Patrick Roy with Presley on the doorstep hangs on, and Presley and Brisebois are pushing at each other.
Well, that's the kind of thing we talked about off the top of the show. More importantly, the kind of play that line has just put on. Airy, Presley, and Hannon. on top of the Canadiens, working, double teaming them, keeping the pressure on the defense. John Muckler telling me today he wondered if his team could come up with the same kind of intensity that they showed, especially through the last half of the game here 2 nights ago. He says you play that way and still lose, that's the tough thing. Didn't know that they could get their game any higher. So Roy makes the save, and then the loveless embraces that take place in front. As all of that went on, and then came to an end. Well, tomorrow, coast to coast, 1 o'clock Eastern. The Toronto Maple Leafs will try to get back on even terms with the St. Louis Blues. That game at the St. Louis Arena. And then 5 o'clock Pacific time, again, coast to coast. The LA Kings and the Canucks from the Great Western Forum in Inglewood, California. And just to echo what you said 2 nights ago, Chris, guess which name you find when you check the overall scoring list in the Stanley Cup playoffs under points. Number 1, number 99.
Boy, he was flying last night. All the Kings were in the 3rd period as they broke that one open to take a 2-1 lead in the Smythe Division final.
Well, there was so much talk about Wayne. You know, after he came back halfway through the season, and a lot of heads were shaking. Gee, he's not doing it, he can't do it anymore, etc., etc. But last few games, you can't tell that to the Canucks right now, that's for sure.
7 minutes, 18 seconds to go, first period, as Odette with the backhand, and he had too much on that. Another souvenir in the stands. A lot of pucks in the crowd in this first period.
And the Sabres have had the majority of the scoring chances. 6-4 the shots, not exactly an outpouring in Curtis Joseph style game fashion, if you will. Paul DiPietro has added a fair dimension to the Canadiens' play with his speed and his hustle, and after coming back into the lineup and getting the hat trick against the Nordics, to the confidence level of himself, if nobody else.
Said he learned a lot watching Brian Bellows and Kirk Muller in the games he sat out in the Quebec series. I said specifically, what did you learn? And he watched Bellows and how he handled Ron Hextall, and when he got back in, of course, he had 3 goals against Hextall. So he's a quick study. And he didn't waste time sulking on the bench or in the stands when he wasn't playing. Here's Bill Holder ahead to Wood with Howardchuk. Howardchuk spins, puts it in front, loose puck, and Wood banned on the shot. DiPietro there for Montreal. Feeds it ahead. DiPietro, I talked about with Bellows. He's now out with Bellows on a line. Bellows feeds it ahead on left wing to Dompoos, and Dompoos will head to the bench and icing the call against the Canadiens.
Mary Lemieux is playing. It's scoreless in the first period in that game. There's Brian Bellows. Told me yesterday that he got hit in the rib cage in the game 2 nights ago with about what turned out to be about 5 minutes left before the overtime goal was scored. There's Denny Savard talking to him. And Brian said he didn't think he could have gone maybe 3-4 more shifts, and he would have had to call him tonight. That was 2 nights ago. A lot of people wondered if he would play tonight. Team up 3-0. Give the ailing ribs a chance to rest up a little bit more. But he's out there. I don't think Montreal would have won that game the other night on the goal by Dion had Bellows not played. He was that important to their overall scheme.
You talk about Bellows and his health. You still have to wonder about Mario when we're told that his first shift comes 11 minutes into the game against the Islanders tonight. Well, the Penguins can play defense too. They've allowed just 1 goal in the last 2 games. Here's Dion deep in Buffalo territory with Brunet. They both skate by the puck. Schmelik around the boards. Brunet there for the Canadiens. He's watched by Patterson. Dion behind the goal looking to center. Schmelik clears it back. Now a loose puck side of the net. Carney chops at it, and Patterson to the point, kept in by Daigneault. His shot knocked down, and out come the Sabres to center. Sean Hill breaks that up. Brunet almost had a break. He was tripped up, and it's Patterson clearing it into the Montreal zone, and Canadian fans in the building wanted a penalty there. Now here's a chance for Barnaby. Centers it in front. There's a shot. They score! Ken Sutton! Well, for the first time in the series, the Sabres go ahead.
J.J. Dino, the Canadiens defenseman, falls down right there. Gets all twisted around on his knees, looking the wrong way. And the Sabres were able to throw that puck back out to Sutton, and he wristed it past Patrick Roy. And this place is going bananas as the Sabres have the lead, the underman, without McGillney and LaFontaine Sabres. There's Daniel falling down, leaving Barnaby with some time to make the play back. And Sutton, with good anticipation, moving in from the point position and firing it home. 1-0 Buffalo.
Colin Patterson also gets an assist on the goal. Buffalo has its first lead of this Adams Division Final, 14-15. Time of the goal, Sutton has 3 in the playoffs, all 3 against the Canadiens. Barnaby with his first Stanley Cup playoff point, and Patterson gets his first point of this year's playoffs as well. Odeline flipping it in for the Canadiens, giving chase is Robert. Around it comes for Bob Airy. He clears it ahead, and out breaks Dave Hannon. Across the red line, he'll send it in. Hannon hit there by Ed Ronan. Holler. He's being watched in the far side by Presley. Comes loose for Hannon. Here's Dave Hannon shooting. That hit somebody in front. Looked like it went off Odeline to the corner, and the Canadiens get it out. Now Odeline to center. To the captain, Carbonneau. Guy Carbonneau breaking in. Shot right on. Rebound. Puck is loose, and Ronan has it bounce off him to the corner. Now Carbonneau. He's tied up. Brad May with the check. Ronan after the loose puck. He's bodied by Ledger. And it comes around the boards. Collision there. Himmel out. And Brisebois as it comes out to center. And the Odd now starting to rock with the Sabres up 1-0. Long shot in on Patrick Roy. Desjardins. Up to Muller, tied up by Sweeney. And the Canadiens will start back in their own zone. 4 minutes, 8 seconds to go, first period. And Ken Sutton has put the Sabres ahead for the first time in the series. At center ice, loose puck, Himmelev is there. Yuri Himmelev across the line. Looking for May. There's Doug Bodger moving in. Bodger colliding with Mike Keane. Desjardins hit by Himmelev, and the puck slides to Patrick Roy. Fans on their feet in Buffalo. The Sabres have the lead.
Doug Bodger, usually considered the Sabres' #1 defenseman, will be Scott Russell's #1 guest in our upcoming first intermission, 3:44 away.
Sabres have 10 goals in this series. 5 have been scored by defensemen. Bodger with 2, and now Sutton with 3. And there's 3:33 to go. First period as DiPietro tries the right side, puts it in front. And it's cleared away by Schmelik. Bodger to Wood, and back to Bodger, hounded by DiPietro, who centers it. Howard-Chuck is there, and the Sabres work it out. Randy Wood on left wing, cuts to the middle. Looking for Howard-Chuck. The pass went off the back of his leg, and Don Foose starts back with Bellows and DiPietro. Schmelik tying up Don Foose. There's DiPietro. Back to Odeline. Odeline scores! Nice move by Lyle Odeline.
Boy, I'll tell you, there's some new scoring heroes in this series. Lyle Odeline with his first ever Stanley Cup goal. He had 3 in his career in regular season before now, and he makes a move like, by golly, you know exactly what he's doing. He hangs onto it, forces Fuhrer to make the move and go down, and then fires it home. Good move by Odeline. Maybe not such a good move by Fuhrer, but there's the fake by the Canadiens' non-offensive defenseman, and he's got the wide open net. That was a play that began, Chris, as you mentioned, when the Sabres moved in and the puck hit Howard-Chuck on the back of the leg. Canadiens went right up the ice, and that rush resulted in the goal.
DiPietro and Don Foose get the assist, so Vincent Don Foose has an 8-game point streak now. Points in the last 8 games after starting slow in the first 2 losses against Quebec. Dave Hannon for the Sabres. Tied up by Brisebois, but persistent. Now helping out is Presley. Hannon and Presley have started well for the Sabres. Presley side of the net, cleared away by Belanger. Jesse Belanger up the boards, pinching in is Kearney. Kearney in the corner to Airy. Airy behind the goal for Presley. He's watched by Brisebois, and skating out with it to center, Eric Desjardins. So defensemen have traded goals here. Sutton for the Sabres, Odeline for the Canadiens. Here's a Guy Carbonneau in front, fanning on it. Puck cleared back to the point and outside the line.
That pass to Carbonneau's on the tape, Chris. It wasn't. He was in all alone with the open side.
And after the Odeline goal, Dick, there were a few critics in the crowd that showed their displeasure with the work of the Sabre netminder. Here's Patterson in front. Twerkham the backhand just wide. Barnaby puts it back in front. And now the Canadiens clear it down the ice. The Buffalo doesn't seem to be down after that goal by the Canadiens. They picked it right back up again.
In this series, Guy Carbonneau's had more scoring chances than I think he had all season. He had a straight-on chance against Fuhr earlier on. It was the only good scoring chance the Canadiens had until the Odeline goal. Here's Brunet with the quick pass out, but not quite. Carbonneau had to draw the stick in toward his skates. He wasn't positioned exactly the way he wanted to be to get a shot away in front of the Buffalo net. But he has been a plus for the Canadiens in these last few games compared to the season he's had. I might, in his defense, obviously say an injury-plagued season this year. But much was made of the fact that his goal the other night in overtime in the second game was the first time that the Canadiens captain had scored on a goaltender since November.
And with that finally behind him, you could just see the confidence restored in him. Scoring again shorthanded in the third period of game 3. Brad May against the boards. Odeline watching him. Sweeney there to help out. Bob Sweeney spinning, and he fanned on the shot. And Carbonneau takes over. Exactly 1 minute to go now. First period, a 1-1 tie in game 4 at the odd. Here's Donfus picking up a loose puck. Vincent Donfus works his way in, checked by May. Back to Haller at the point. His shot off the backboards wide. Ronan hit by Sweeney. Muller handed it off. Donfus looking for Muller again. Knocked down by Sutton. And Sutton takes Muller to the board. Sweeney will turn. Half minute to go. Himmelad doesn't have a point yet in the series. Collides with Sweeney, and now Sweeney sends it in. That was dangerous. It looked like the Sabres had 6 players on the ice for a moment because Sweeney was headed to the bench.
Yeah, great confusion within the ranks of Buffalo. They end up icing the puck. And all of that. I still think one of the hardest collisions, Chris, we've seen this year. Muller and Eric Desjardins one night at the Montreal Forum. Well, you mentioned about the reaction of the crowd to the Montreal goal, and there is no question that in the media and on the phone-in shows here in Buffalo, Grant Fuhr has not been treated all that kindly. How quickly they forget, as everybody else can tell you, that how big he was against Boston. There's Lyle Odeline, the newfound scoring touch. You mentioned the close games in this series, and Demers saying it could be 2-1 Buffalo. But the Sabre people also remind you that in the Boston series, 3 of their 4 wins came in overtime. It wasn't all that one-sided if you're thinking in the strictest sense of the word sweep. But that's how close the playoffs have been this year, especially in the Adams division. Of course, I guess I can say anywhere. Look at that Toronto-St. Louis series.
Another great goaltending display last night by Curtis Joseph. Former teammate at Wisconsin of Sean Hill in the lineup tonight for the Canadiens. 15 seconds to go in the period as the Sabres work out to center ice. Here's Howard-Chuck hitting the line with Wood trying to burst through. Howard-Chuck following. It's loose behind the goal. Howard-Chuck. As the seconds tick down, Odette in front, and they can't get a stick on it. And that will do it for period 1. Or will it, as Bellows pushes with Odette. Randy Wood was upset with one of the Canadiens.
Yeah, he sure was. He was knocked down. Somebody has stick underneath his armpit, and he didn't like that, and the period does come to an end. So the teams swap goals, and I think the way it went through the first, well, actually, Chris, almost to the time Odeline scored, you can see that Jacques Demers might have been saying, these guys aren't up for this game. They don't have the kind of stuff that I want them to have. But as the period came to an end, again, it's amazing what a goal can do, and it seemed to wake up Montreal.
Now coming up in our first intermission, Defenseman Doug Bodger will join Scott Russell in studio. Defenseman doing the scoring in the first period, Ken Sutton for the Sabres. Lyle Odeline for the Canadiens. The score at the end of one at the odd is Montreal 1, Buffalo 1. To start this second period, Bob Corkum with Matthew Barnaby and Colin Patterson. And it was Barnaby setting up the first goal for Buffalo by Sutton. So a nice start for this rookie in his first Stanley Cup game. Said growing up in Ottawa, he always wanted to play for the Montreal Canadiens. In fact, he was drafted in the 4th round by Buffalo, one spot after the Canadiens selected another player from the Quebec League. He said when he heard them announce from the Quebec Junior League, he thought he was about to become a Canadian and felt a letdown when they called someone else's name. Now he's a proud Sabre. Kevin Holler, an ex-Sabre, out to center ice, and Grant Ledger off the boards. Carbonneau looking for it, passes cross ice to Ed Ronan, and Ronan backhands it into the Buffalo zone. Mario Robert, Joe Carbonneau stops it along the far boards, flips it in front. It goes to Patterson, and he sends it out to center. Brisebois back in his own zone, a minute into this second period. Ahead it goes to John LeClair, still looking for his first goal of these playoffs. Sutton clears it back in for Buffalo. Desjardins around the boards for LeClair. Schmelik there as well, and he stops it for the Sabres. Muller turns. He takes a hit, gets it ahead to LeClair, and out come the Canadiens now, 2-on-1. Mike Keane works in, shot, and a nice block there by Doug Bodger. Keane in the corner. Centers it, DiPietro shot, loose in front. Fuhr was caught going the wrong way, but recovered to make the save.
One of the most frustrating things for hockey coaches has to be a team gets a 2-on-1, they don't get a shot on goal. You people out there might not realize just how much teams practice 2-on-1s. Day after day, week after week. That's what we saw the Canadiens come up with. Empty, Mike Keane and Eric Desjardins, the 2-on-1 break. Bodger with a good defensive play. This puck bounces around a little bit, and right in front of the net, John LeClair there in a rather wet-looking goal crease. Now here's the 2-on-1. Keane waits, and then Bodger makes his move. He drops down feet first toward Keane. Keane doesn't get the puck over Bodger. Good defensive play by Scott's first intermission guess.
Well, you heard Doug Bodger with Scott talk about Grant Fuhr. John Muckler said he's the reason we got to play Montreal, and that's why he is playing in Game 4 tonight, although there were some suggesting that perhaps this was the time to try Dominic Hasek to change the momentum for Buffalo. Bob Airy at center. Schmelik clears it in. Odeline. Presley took a run at him. Presley after it the near side. He had a great first period. Presley hitting every Canadian in sight.
Like he did the other night. Very effectively the other night, too.
Bob Airy to the line. He stopped, but it comes to Bodger working in. Doug Bodger. Backhand, and it goes off Waugh. Bodger again. Play whistle down. Patrick Waugh was bumped in front, and in fact, there's a Sabre on top of him, and Paul Stewart whistled play dead.
We can't tell from here, but it could be the net knocked loose, or no, I guess not. Maybe the referee just lost sight of the puck. One of those routines. A very strange one here, although the Sabres aren't arguing the point. There's the hit there in the corner on Odeline. Well, that's what happens when you become a goal scorer. You become a target. Anyway, here's the play that ends up with the scramble. And Patrick Waugh goes down on it. Gilbert Dion made a pretty good defensive play to prevent Bodger from getting that shot away when he walked in from the point. And Patrick Waugh down, sitting down, and somewhere in this, I guess, best we can do up here, Stewart lost sight of the puck and he whistles it down. Ooh, bingo. Life in the goal crease. Not easy.
That was one of Jacques Demers' concerns following Game 3. Too much traffic around his goaltender. He was bumped 6 or 7 times, and Coach Demers wanted it stopped. One of the reasons Mario Robert was inserted into the lineup. Donald Odette behind the goal, trying to center it with Howard-Chuck in front. Now Wood after the puck against Belanger. Sabres work it free. Howard-Chuck to the point. Holder shot, and again was been bumped. And a penalty coming up. It's going against Buffalo.
Yeah, you wondered about that, and you're right, Chris. That's one of the reasons that Demers put Robert in uniform tonight, and there was also a thought that he might dress Todd Ewan as well. He thought the Canadiens were coming out second best the other night in the after-whistle scrums. He also thought that Patrick Roy was coming out second best in situations just like this. So 2 straight plays at the Canadiens' goal crease, and the goaltender pays the price both times. And there you see Stewart at the top of your screen blowing the whistle, and the Canadiens get their first power play chance of the hockey game, and as Odette gets called for the goal crease interference on Patrick Roy.
Now the Sabres argue that Daigneault took Odette into Patrick Roy, but you saw Daigneault put his arms up like he didn't do anything.
Well, that's into the second period now at the Nassau Coliseum. The only report we have on Mario Lemieux is that A, he is playing, and B, he did not have his first shift in the game until it was 11 minutes old. So obviously he is not 100% healthy.
Well, the power play has been a big story in this series for the Canadiens. 5 for 12. They have the best power play amongst teams remaining in the playoffs at 27.3%. And here they come. Brian Bellows inside the line. Kirk Muller down low. Patterson and Sweeney, the penalty killers. Don Foose looking for an open man. There's Muller. Can't get the shot away. Sabres can't clear. There's a shot deflecting just wide of the goal. Bellows back to the point and past Desjardins down the ice. 40 seconds gone in the Odette minor for interference. And the puck deflects off the ankle of Wayne Presley into the crowd.
It's defenseman's night on the intermissions on our show. Eric Desjardins will chat with Scott, a player who picked his game up to a level that we'd been waiting for him. Montreal Canadian media types since he had the Good Canada Cup a couple of years ago. Eric was benched by Jacques Demers in a game in Washington in the second to last Friday night of the season. He had missed a game up to then, and it was at that point that he received the wake-up call, it would appear. And Chris, you've seen him throughout these playoffs, and he's been a very strong performer. With the absence of Matthew Schneider, he has turned out to be the best Montreal defenseman without question.
Matt Schneider continuing to work out with the Canadiens on the off days and at the morning skates. Said he might be ready for Game 6 if that was going to transpire in this series. But there doesn't seem to be any rush, at the moment anyway, for Schneider to get back in. Now the Canadiens try to work it out, but they're hemmed in as Muller has to turn right in front of the net. Presley cut him off, but Muller maintains possession. 33 seconds left in the penalty dump. Foose cross ice. Sutton got his stick on that. Muller feeds the point. Brisebois back into Don Foose. Fuhr clears it back in the corner. Sutton hammers Don Foose, but Vincent stays with it. Centering pass from Muller knocked away. Now Brunet feeds it back. Sean Hill on the ice. Don Foose skates past Presley. Now cross. Sean Hill shot, and he whipped that wide. They jam it in front off the post. Muller hit the post. Fuhr down, and he'll cover up. Close call there. Canadiens hit the post, and Grant Fuhr struggled to cover up.
Kirk Muller hits the goalpost right here on a backhand. Vinny Danfus very patient. The Sabres had defended well. It kept the Canadiens to the outside. Danfus did a good job. When the sequence ended and there was some pushing and whatever, we had penalties called. Benoit Brunet of the Canadiens and Wayne Presley of the Sabres both got 2 minutes. What are we doing? Odette is over. So now it's 4 skaters aside.
In that last flurry, as Fuhr covered up, Odette's penalty expired. And so we do have the 4-on-4 situation. Ronan steals for the Canadiens and clears it back in. Another funny hop off the glass. Here's a chance at Fuhr with the save off Ed Ronan. Randy Wood on the near wing. Hits the line, drops it off. Bodger's shot goes high. Ronan for the Canadiens. Off the boards to center. Schmelik feeds it ahead. Howard Chuck with room. Shoots and off the shoulder of Patrick Roy. Wood looking for it against 3 Canadiens, and out comes Montreal. Desjardins. Wood was knocked down behind the play, and the fans react. Kevin Holler to the net. And now the Sabres get possession with Sutton. Canadiens making a change is Ken Sutton, the goal scorer for Buffalo. Heads down the left wing. Sutton sweeps it to the side of the net as he went down. Gets up again. Can't get a backhand away, and the Canadiens clear it. Don Foos, one-on-one against Keith Carney. Now waits for some help. In low to Belanger, and he'll have to bring it out. 6 minutes gone, second period. A 1-1 tie. Buffalo and Montreal. Don Foos back in. Don Foos behind the net, can't come out in front. He goes down, and here's Sweeney and Himmelach. Daniel gets across to regain possession for Montreal. Here's a turnover in the zone, nearly. Don Foos just couldn't get to it. Now he's got it behind the goal, looking to center with Belanger. Wraparound, scores! Don Foos caught Grant Fuhr napping.
What a terrific shift that was for Vincent Danfus. Boy, he just didn't quit. He started the play coming out of the Canadian zone, and Danfus just worked and worked. He got hammered. He hung tough. He steps around Ledyard here. This is where the wraparound goes in. The red light didn't go on for the longest time. I don't know why. It's very obvious the puck's in the net. But Danfus did so much work even before we pick it up here with the low-angle camera. All of this behind the net. Boy, how did he tuck that one in? He was right behind the net. And Fuhr slow to react across to the post, it would seem. 2-1 Montreal.
Unassisted goal, Don Foos with his 8th of the playoffs. And he now has 13 points. Been a great playoff for Vincent Danfus, who was under siege after the opening 2 games against Quebec. But has he ever answered back? Let's see if Buffalo can. Hannon, his pass just too far for Presley. Airy in front of the net. Holler chopping at it. Kept in by Buffalo. Here's Ledyard. Shot, hit a leg, and Ledyard can't keep the rebound in. Bill Holder clears it back in for the Sabres. Presley again hits his man, kept in by Schmelik. They tied up against the boards. Hannon flipped it, but Muller intercepted. And back comes Mike Keane. Keane sends it in. Don Foos now with 5 goals in this series against Buffalo. Hannon on right wing. To the line, drops it off. Presley shot off of Odeline. And the Canadiens skate back with it. Keane to the line, drops it off. Muller watched by Schmelik and rammed to the boards, but Schmelik goes down. LeClaire, now Howard check along the boards. There's Keane. Muller in front, and it went through his skates. Went out the other side. Now the puck cleared over the glass and out of play. Vincent Danfus, unassisted at 6:29, has given the Canadiens the lead.
Kirk Muller and Richard Schmelik had something going. Schmelik really drilled Muller against the boards. There he trips him up. Muller takes a pounding, I'll tell you.
Danfus with a goal and an assist in this game with 13 points now in the playoffs. His 3rd among Stanley Cup scorers, behind 99 and Doug Gilmour. Gretzky with 17 points and Gilmour with 15.
Like you said, Chris, he's got those 13 points in what, about 7.5 games now.
Big reason the Canadiens unbeaten in 7 and leading in the 8th. Longest win streak in the playoffs so far. Here's Howard Chuck. Dale Howard Chuck takes the shot in front. That hit somebody, and Canadiens' Keith Carbonneau clears it. And again, it's Dale Howardchuk appearing to be the most dangerous Sabre. The guy who can get this team back. He flips it to Odette. There's the shot blocked by Sean Hill, who drives it off the boards. And the Canadiens' Carbonneau gets it outside the line. Odette flips it back in. Roberge turns to Degno. He sends it ahead. And Mario Roberge hit by Schmelik. Dave Hannon turning. Hannon to the line, and it's called offside.
In this period, the Sabres have had just 2 shots. The Canadiens have had 5. That's a trend reversal, as you can see through this series. The biggest margin in shots, and the Sabres have outshot the Canadiens all the way, has been in the second period. And the Sabres have been at their best, certainly offensively, in Montreal at the worst. Grant Fuhr in this one has faced 11 shots total, 5 of them in this second period.
We talked earlier. Here's DiPietro perhaps with a break. DiPietro spins in the zone. And now the Sabres come up with it. We talked earlier about Buffalo not having the lead going into the series. Well, they got it and held on to it for 2 minutes and 47 seconds.
The Canadiens' kindly coach trying to give a fan a puck, and he missed it the first time. But he got it the second. You mentioned the Canadiens with their 7 straight wins. That's the best consecutive playoff win streak for Montreal since the Canadiens in 1978 won 9 in a row on their way to their 3rd straight Stanley Cup. However, lest you get too excited out there, Canadiens fans, the team record is 11 straight. They did that 3 times. The NHL record is 12 straight. Edmonton carryover from 84 to 85.
10 minutes, 42 seconds to go, second period. It's 2-1 Montreal. Sabres open the scoring. Ken Sutton, but Lyle Oderline tied it in the first. Vincent Damphousse on an assisted goal here in the second. And there's a big hit by Bob Airy, but the Canadiens skate out to center. Bellows has to go back to get the pass and hands it to Dave Hannon. Doug Botcher drifts it in. But many of the veteran Sabres have had good games here tonight. Presley among them. Here's DiPietro rolling it to Grant Fuhr, and Hannon, another vet who skated well, makes the play and now starts back with Presley on the right wing. Wayne Presley has to turn back, couldn't get a good shot away, and his pass goes off a skate out to center.
Chris, there's that 2-on-1 situation again. No shot resulting. Why coaches go gray, or grayer than they are.
Well, you wonder with Patrick Roy playing so well whether he outpsychs the Sabres on a chance like that. Presley from not a great angle, but he was in shooting range.
Well, you wonder if the players outthink themselves too, trying to be just a little too cute in a situation like that. Eric Desjardins, what a hit he took. And from the safety of the broadcast area, you could see this one coming. Airy had him lined up. He came from the left side. Desjardins cut around behind the net. He didn't see Airy at all. It was solid, but you notice it was like a bouncing rubber ball. How these guys can get hit like they get hit and bounce back. Hockey players continue to amaze me. They continue to get a lot younger looking, too. Well, I can't be growing older, because they just have to be getting younger.
There's a youthful Jesse Belanger getting set for this face-off. Benoit Brunet, you saw, he's trying to look older with that playoff beard, but shot right off Patrick Roy. The rebound slipped through the goal crease. Good hustle there by Bob Corkum. Belanger knocked down. This is the line with Barnaby again, and he's after Kevin Haller. Takes Haller to the boards, and Belanger turns in his own zone for the Canadiens. John Muckler's got some mileage out of these guys, and there's Barnaby trying to get into a fight. Over 400 minutes the last 2 years in junior. Trying to get something going.
Have you mentioned that he's called Killer? That's the nickname. And this year in the Quebec Major Junior League, he had a very interesting record. He played for 3 different teams, ended up with 111 points in the high-scoring world of junior hockey. And yet, with 111 points, he still had 448 minutes in the penalty box. With, so they tell me, 42 separate fights. He's such a nice boy. I met him yesterday. You wouldn't know it. Just think if he only had, say, a paltry 300 minutes in penalties, how many points would he have had? He ends up with 2 here. He played 2 games for the Sabres, their last 2 regular season games. He had 2 fights and 1 goal. He ends up here sharing a 2-minute penalty with Lyle Odeline.
He was telling me that if you take the penalty minutes from the last 2 seasons, it adds up to over 13 full games in the penalty box.
He's still got 111 points this year. That's what the bases be. So they continue on at long range.
Perhaps setting a future date for a meeting of the minds or fists.
I'll tell you about Lyle Odeline. He's a fighter. There's no doubt about it. He's one of the Canadiens' hitmen. But in this playoff, it's like he just wants to stay away from that. He wants to stick to what he has to do first and foremost. And he's done a pretty good job of it. He has matured incredibly in this season, Lyle Odeline. 2-1 Canadiens here. Still no score. Second period at the Nassau Coliseum. The Islanders and Pittsburgh. The Islanders trying to even that series at 2 apiece.
And 4 skaters aside again. Sabres regrouping as they skate backwards and now make their assault on the right side. Bob Sweeney cutting in. Sweeney and a big glove save by Patrick Roy. That was a dandy. And a good rush by Bob Sweeney for the Sabres.
Now it's dancing time in the auditorium as the dancers going, and a beautiful dance here by Bob Sweeney. Great pass by Ledyard. Sweeney had a step and Eric Desjardins caught him turning, and Patrick Roy made a save somewhat reminiscent of Curtis Joseph off Doug Gilmour last night in overtime in St. Louis. That could have been one of his many saves of the playoffs. Sweeney frustrated, in close. That time with the glove grab by Roy.
Doug Gilmour, that's the other guy called Killer. Thought he had a patent on the nickname. Eric Desjardins off the boards, kept in by the Sabres. There's Sweeney again, tough to move off the puck. Now knocked down, but after it in the corner, and he cleared it back to the point and outside the line. Ledyard back to get it. Watched by Keane. Flips it in. Desjardins around the boards. Muller near side. Watched by Ledyard. Good move there past one Sabre, and Muller will skate to center. Here's Kirk Muller. Great move! Oh, he hit the goal post. 2 posts in this period for Kirk Muller. What a rush. Shot from the point. Kicked up by Pure. Muller almost stole it from Ledyard, but now out comes Himmelad. Yuri Himmelad working against Sean Hill. Hill takes him down. Behind the goal, and J.J. Daigneault up the boards. There's Muller, and he'll head to the bench after that great rush that resulted in a shot off the post. 7 minutes, 45 seconds to go. Second period, 2-1 Montreal. Damphousse with the puck, and the go-ahead goal in this game. 23 seconds left in the coincidental minors. As Ronan lost control of it in his skates, back to the point it goes. Daigneault, his shot drifts high and wide, and on the far wing, Randy Wood takes a look, cross ice for Bodger. He can't catch up to it, and Daigneault takes it behind his goal. Ed Ronan has Damphousse loose at center, can't get him the puck. Both teams now return to full strength. Here's Howardchuk against Daigneault. Daigneault with the poke check, and now the wrist shot through on goal. Barnaby back. Cross ice for Wood, and Damphousse got a stick on it. There's a shot on goal by Wood. Sean Hill checked by Howardchuk. And the puck up on the mesh long enough for a faceoff.
All right, Dale Howardchuk making some good moves. He's the man they're counting on to show some offensive leadership for Buffalo, but Kirk Muller about an inch away from a highlight reel goal. He beat Sweeney right at the Montreal blue line, hit of the post. So as Chris mentioned, he hit the post on the power play with a backhand earlier here in this second period, and Muller with a great individual up ice rush just misses, giving the Canadiens a 3-1 lead.
And 8 of the 14 goals in this series for the Canadiens have been scored by Dom Foos and Muller. And he almost added to his total with another beauty. Corkum against Belanger on this faceoff, a pair of 29s. And Lyle Odeline comes up with it. Odeline and Barnaby back on the ice against each other. We'll watch them. And here's Barnaby with it, met by Brunet. Cleared to center. Belanger took a hit. Corkum trying to get loose, can't do it. And here's a chance for Belanger. His centering pass intercepted by Ledger. Out come the Sabres. Matthew Barnaby, the rookie, tried to send it across and gave it away. And back comes Gilbert Dion. Dion beats it back. Kevin Holler's in. Holler right on, and Grant Fuhr covers up. Bill Holder was hanging all over Holler.
And he's going to get a penalty for it. Gilbert Dion made a dandy pass. He waited and spotted the trailer coming in behind Kevin Holler. And Holler was walking in. He might wish he'd have drilled that shot from directly in the slot. He tried to move in a touch closer, and that's when he got hauled down. Now here's Barnaby and Brunet. A little earlier on, the kid's not afraid to mix it up. No doubt about that. Now here's the chance from the left side rather. Dion with the pass back to Holler, who waited, got a little fancy maybe with the shot, and he's hooked down by the defenseman Holder. So now the Canadiens get a power play opportunity. Here's the chance. Does he shoot it here? No, they take looking for the perfect shot. Doesn't happen very often in hockey, and it cost them the chance. And it cost Bill Holder 2 minutes. So the Islanders still no score. Game just a little bit ahead of this one apparently. There's 6:10 left in the second period here in Buffalo. Boy, they're not scoring many goals on Tom Barrasso. It's funny. Pittsburgh, you know, you think of them as the big scoring machine. Well, they're not getting very many goals on Glenn Keeley, but at the same time, blanket on the Islanders scoring.
He's been terrific, overshadowed by the brilliance of Curtis Joseph, but Barrasso has been exceptional in these playoffs. Canadiens 0 for 1 on the power play tonight. Sean Hill getting a chance with the man advantage. Up front, Kirk Muller, Vincent Damphousse, and Brian Bellows as it's fired in. Brisebois, the other point man, has it. Here's Bellows' side of the net, checked on the play by Bodger. Bellows gets a second chance in the corner, feeds it to Muller. He couldn't control it. That pass might have been intended for the point man, and it hit Kirk in the skate. Hannon tries to tie it up inside the Canadian zone, and Kirk Muller has it. Ahead to Damphousse. Damphousse poke checked at the line, and Hannon rolls it down. Minute left in the power play, 5:09 to go, second period. And it's 2-1 Canadian. DiPietro rolls it in. Dion is forechecking. Brunet out there as well, and it comes free to Colin Patterson, and he'll skate to center with it. Another funny hop through the goal crease. Boy, a goaltender has to be careful every time he leaves to try and cover one of those shots around the board. Now Bob Sweeney with an opening. Here's Sweeney working in. Tripped up on the play, and Canadiens regain possession. Gilbert Dion on left wing. To Brunet. Back to Dion. At the point. Here's the shot. Scores! Kevin Holler.
Well, that time Kevin Holler didn't move in and look for the perfect chance. He just wound up and blasted it. Again, Gilbert Dion with a nice pass as he spotted the open man through traffic and fed it back right there. And this time, Kevin Holler just tees it up and he lets it go. And it beats Fuhr inside the post. And the Canadiens have a 3-1 lead. Again, the pass back from Dion. And the shot inside the post. Sutton went down to try to block it. And The Canadiens coming from behind tonight for the first time in the series, and their third straight goal and their second in this period. Now that's the perfect shot. He let that one fly.
He knew he was going to get it sooner or later. It's his first goal of these playoffs. Muller and Dion get the assist, and it was a power play goal. Check that now. They're now saying Brunet with the second assist. 15:40, time of the goal, and it's a 2-goal Canadian lead as they look for the sweep in Game 4 of the Adams Division Final, and a puck bouncing to Fuhr, and that gives the fans an opportunity to turn the heat up on the goaltender, who's down in the series.
Montreal's power play much maligned for the last several seasons, it seems. But that goal by Holler just adds to their record in this playoff year, and they're tops amongst the clubs who are still in the playoffs.
Dick, prior to this game, the Canadiens had just one goal from a defenseman, Eric Desjardins. They have two tonight. Odeline and Holler have goals, and that's been the difference. It's 3-1, and a penalty coming up against the Canadiens with the Stanley Cup update. Here's Scott.
Chris, finally a goal in that Patrick Division final at Nassau Coliseum. They are deep in the second period when Jaromir Jagr strips the puck away from the Islander defense. He then goes in alone on Glenn Healy. Nice moves, and he beats Healy for his fourth goal of the playoffs. That makes it 1-0 Pittsburgh over the Islanders.
Tell you one thing, Islander fans, when that first came on, they thought our team has scored. And then in came young Mr. Jagr. Eric Desjardins called down Bob Airy. So the second intermission guest of Scott Russell is going to sit out 2 minutes. He hopes the full 2 minutes. And the Sabres trying to get back in this one and make it a one-goal hockey game. Get a power play opportunity.
Did you see where Jagr has his own ice cream bar now?
Mario got a chocolate bar, Mario?
He's a weatherman, has his own ice cream bar. Mario Jr. on the board for Pittsburgh tonight. Dale Hawerchuk will quarterback the power play for Buffalo, and they need a goal here. Late second period, down by 2. Sweeney around the boards. Brad May's out, so is Himalev. May against the boards, watched by Odeline. Sweeney helping out. Himalev's loose in front, back to Hawerchuk, and fanned on the one-timer. Hawerchuk almost kept it in, but the Canadiens get it out to center. Here's Himalev. Left wing feed, and Hawerchuk well offside on the play.
Well, frustration time appearing to be setting in for the Sabres and Dale Hawerchuk. Eric Desjardins in the penalty box. He has 1:18 left in his penalty, and he will join Scott Russell, and we'll also have an update on the injury/condition of Alexander McGillney, who loves to play golf but won't be playing any this summer. There's the bench. Peter Svoboda behind the bench with a knee injury that he suffered 2 games into the second half of the season. Telling me today that he will be A-OK for training camp. The rehab should be finished pretty well by the end of June, he says.
Bodger tied up at center ice with Muller. The Canadiens send the Sabres back with exactly 3 minutes to go in the second period. Hawerchuk works out to center. Brad May in the corner, bumped by Odeline. Puck comes loose, and Muller sends it back down the ice. Dale Hawerchuk to center, clearing it in. After Bois to the goal, Sean Hill knocked out of midair by Bodger. Good play there. As the Sabres set it up, May shot, and he whipped that one wide. Great setup there for Brad May and the one-timer. Puck flipped over Bodger out to center. 17 seconds left in the power play. Ahead it goes to Donald Odette. He can't get loose. And May took down Keane at center ice. 5 seconds left. Here's near giveaway. Carbonneau almost had a break. And now the Canadiens back at full strength. So just the one good chance on the setup to May. And that's how it's gone for the Sabres as Hannon runs into Paul Stewart and goes down. Donald Odette down the right side. And he lost his stick. J.J. Daigneault beats it ahead on the right wing. And here come the Canadiens. Carbonneau snaps the wrist shot. Fuhr the save. Rebound. Bellows couldn't get Wood on it. And Dave Hannon turns back. Sutton jumps into the play. Randy Wood flips it to the net, right on, and Patrick Roy hangs on with 1:18 to go in the second period.
Another scoring chance for Guy Carbonneau, but the best play on the rebound there was Donald Odette, who tied up Brian Bellows, who could have had a straight-in chance on Grand Fuhr. Patrick Roy hasn't faced all that much in the way of shots tonight. The shots are fairly low, 16-15. And here's Roy making the grab and hanging on, making sure. And you see where Ken Sutton is as the Sabre defense is going to start moving up. They've tasted the goal-scoring bit of this series. As Chris points out, they've done a fair amount of it.
Boy, Patrick has a great record against Buffalo. 7-1 this year, 11-4 against the Sabres lifetime in the playoffs. And they haven't found a way to beat him on a consistent basis in this series. In fact, I can say this now because he won't get the shutout tonight. He's the last goaltender to shut the Sabres out on home ice. Scrum along the boards and they tie it up with 62 seconds to go in the period.
Rather, I said there were some Canadian fans here, and the CBC on the left side for our cameras to take, and the cameras just found them. I don't know. I mentioned that Jacques Demers about hanging in, like not wanting the guys to start thinking about traveling to someplace like Pittsburgh too soon. They played a solid game here in the second period.
And you can't assume that the next opposition will be the Penguins.
No way.
But if it was, it would be the first time in Stanley Cup history the Canadiens would face the Penguins in the postseason. Final minute, second period. And Bill Holder played most of the year in San Diego. Feeds it ahead to Wayne Presley. Presley to the line, checked, and back out it comes. Corkum fires it in. Another funny hop off the boards. Patrick was behind the goal again. But as been the case in this series, Dick, not many breaks have gone against the Canadiens. Batted out of midair. Touched by Montreal, and they'll get a face-off with 10.7 seconds to go.
Roy has been caught out of the net, if you will, Chris, twice tonight on those bounces, but nary a Sabre in sight. And the puck caroms off at a strange angle. I don't know why these goaltenders continue to take the chances they do. Is it really all that important, especially in a rink like this and the bounces that come off the boards? Well, they're having a ball here, these guys.
Didn't look like Guy Carbonneau.
Carbonneau's C, Brian Bellows 23 on the sleeve.
Carbonneau's on the ice for this face-off against Bob Sweeney, and he wins the draw. Daigneault skating out to center, and he'll slide it in. Centering pass as the horn goes to end the second period. And the Sabres almost were caught napping right at the end of the period.
Well, the only two goals of the period scored by Montreal to give them the 3-1 lead. And John Muckler is seeing his team running into the kind of play. The Canadiens aren't as familiar now to the holding the lead routine as they once were. In other words, they used to, two-goal lead, forget it, they used to say. Not quite that way this year. But the Canadiens put up a solid defense. Not many chances for Buffalo as they try to come from behind in the late stages of the second period.
Eric Desjardins will be Scott Russell's guest in our second intermission. His Canadiens have outshot the Sabres 16-15 through 2 periods of play. The score at the end of the second, Montreal 3, Buffalo 1. Jacques Demers, Canadiens 3-1 after 40 minutes.
Well, the home team at the Nassau Coliseum coming from behind to try to even that series. The home team here in Buffalo must come from behind if they are going to play another day, which would be Monday night in Montreal.
Dave Hannon along with Wayne Presley and Bob Airy. It's been the best line for Buffalo tonight. They start the third period as the puck is sent in, but an offside is called on the shoot-in.
4 goals scored in this game, 2 of them coming in the first period, both scored by defensemen. Sutton for Buffalo, Odeline for Montreal, 1-1 at the end of one. Then Vincent Danfus with an unassisted wraparound goal gave the Canadiens the lead, and on a power play, Kevin Haller, a former Sabre, made it 3-1 late in the period.
Hannon and DiPietro on the face-off, and the Canadiens control. J.J. Daigneault over to Sean Hill, playing his first game of the series. Off a skate, and Airy clears it in. Hannon gives chase. Here's Hannon in front to Airy. Didn't get much on it, and Patrick Roy scoots out to cover up.
Where Patrick Roy is, I don't know if it'll show on television, but when they got through resurfacing the ice, it was like a swimming pool in front of the Canadiens' goal. Couldn't believe how much water was there, and he spent a fair amount of time after skating onto the ice clearing it away. Even drew the linesman's attention to it to make sure that he had the time to make it dry enough to play hockey on. John Muckler making a change. I don't think, Chris, that Muckler has seen his team put the pressure on the Canadiens inside the Montreal line to the extent that he would like. Eric Desjardins said how the Sabres came out and played very strong hockey at the first of the hockey game, at the beginning of the opening period. And I think the Canadiens have, Demers has got his message to them, but better were bracing themselves for the same, and they may get it here at the start of the third.
Yes, the intensity of the forechecking not nearly as high as it was in Game 3, but then again, Canadiens have had 48 hours to reassess their breakout patterns coming out of the zone, and maybe Sabres are having a little more trouble hitting the Canadiens tonight. Himmelev and Keane on the face-off, and from the draw, Himmelev tried to break in, cleared away, and now over the stick of Sutton out to center ice. Himmelev on the far side. Leaves it, and it's cleared in by Ledger. Around the boards, kept in by Sutton, who took a hit, and the puck deflected out of play as Keane and Sutton met at the blue line.
Mike Keane has played some pretty good hockey for the Canadiens in the playoffs. Had a good point-scoring string there for a while. Another player who, although he had injuries that hampered him, but the native of Winnipeg has come on to be just one of those quiet guys who means a lot. And this is his type of situation. He'll get a lot of ice time, I would think, along with number 11, the battle-scarred Kirk Muller, as this third period winds down.
Keane was +6 coming into this game, highest among the Canadiens in that department. We're in the first minute of the third period of Game 4. The Sabres trying to get back in it. They trail by 2. Jesse Belanger ahead to Benoit Brunet. Partial break for Brunet, and Sutton came back to recover. Brunet still with it. Now he's checked, and the Sabres get it outside the line. Ken Sutton of Calgary. He's had a strong series for the Sabres. Gets it ahead to Hawerchuk. Dale Hawerchuk, the acting captain, to the line. Gets it back again. Cross ice. Ledger on the backhand. Steered away by Patrick Roy. Brunet along the boards. He's double-teamed by Wood and Hawerchuk. Now Odette there as well, and it worked free by the Sabres. Bodger shot off an ankle, and back come the Canadiens. Odeline jumping into the play. Lyle Odeline hit by Ledger, and Donald Odette turns. He has Barnaby loose. Matthew Barnaby. Odette, and he missed it. On a nice feed from Barnaby, and somehow Odette missed converting. And the Sabres can't miss those chances.
Well, you can't really tell from where we are, but you almost think Odette wasn't expecting the return pass. Barnaby seemed to be in a pretty good position to take a shot. Now here it comes. Barnaby has Odette to his right as he comes in, winds up as if to shoot, and then slips it across. Well, maybe Odette was ready. He just missed the puck. But the defense was beaten on the play. The pass, of course, a lot quicker than what it showed on the slow motion replay. But Odette just simply missed it as it came across a touch too quickly for him to handle. Nice play by the kid Barnaby.
Odette, the natural goal scorer. He had 31 a couple of years ago. He's been plagued with injuries, but he can be an offensive force for the Sabres. Here's a centering pass from Patterson, now behind the net. They try to sweep it in front. Patterson backhand, and look what I found, says Patrick Waugh.
That's the second close-in glove grab that Waugh has made. Sweeney was his victim in the second period. But some good slugging by the Sabres in behind the Montreal net. Sets up the veteran Colin Patterson at the side. He just lets it go. Waugh in position. Low shot. Glove save. First angle look at it here. As Patterson works his way out after trying to center it. Gets the pass. Takes the shot. And the save is made.
J.J. Daigneault off the boards, and it is kept in by Barnaby at the line. Patterson in the corner. Couldn't get his stick on it. Now Corkum forechecking. And Bodger pinching in, so they're bottling up the Canadiens. A centering pass from Barnaby off the stick of Daigneault. Kept in by Schmelik and now brought out. Schmelik clears it back in. So the Sabres trying to mount the comeback early in the third period. Their last gasp. Mario Robert taken off the puck by Schmelik. And the Sabres just dump it down the ice. Daigneault touches it, and icing is the call.
Now doubleheader time tomorrow on Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to you all. And you'll be able to see the Leafs and the Blues coast to coast, 1 o'clock Eastern from the arena in St. Louis. Game 4 in that series. And then Game 4, the Canucks and the Kings from the Great Western Forum in Inglewood, California, 5 o'clock Pacific time. Doubleheader on Mother's Day on Hockey Night in Canada.
Two minutes, 57 seconds gone in the third period. Hannon and DiPietro on the face-off, and here's Sutton past Don Foose. Past DiPietro to center. Hannon now flipping it in. And Kevin Haller, who has the third goal for the Canadiens, clears it out, and it's DiPietro at center, across on the right wing to Bellows. Brian Bellows winds up. Shot is a couple of feet wide. Haller at the red line, feeds it ahead, and DiPietro to Don Foose. Don Foose, great pass, and a nice glove save by Fuhr. He looked sharp there as he robbed Brian Bellows on a point-blank shot from the slot.
Pretty good stop here a moment ago. Grant Fuhr off Brian Bellows, who just one times the Vincent Danfus pass. The strange thing that I find here, the crowd greeted that stop with dead silence. That's the kind of a thing that a crowd would get worked up about. Okay, guys, here's a big stop by the goalie. Let's get it going. Nobody reacted at all to that stop by Fuhr. Will the Sabres react? The crowd didn't.
John Muckler said prior to the series, and on the heels of the sweep of Boston, that Grant Fuhr could run for mayor, but if this is indeed the last game of the season for the Sabres, I don't think Grant will be pursuing any political aspirations during the summer months, because his stock not nearly as high as it was when this series began. Doug Bodger on right wing, and the Sabres clear it into the Canadian zone. Brad May in the corner against Brisebois. Sweeney knocks it free. Brisebois all over Brad May, but May is a diligent worker along the boards. And it finally comes free to Keane. He wraps it around the glass past Ledger and down the ice. We've played 4 minutes of the third period. Still 3-1 Canadiens. Ahead it goes to May. He drops the pass back, and Bodger will carry it out. Check that Ledger shot well off the mark. Sweeney along the boards. May lets it go. And Himmelett watched by Odeline. Keane out at center ice. John LeClair there against Ledger. And Ledger cuts him off and knocks him into the boards. Bodger retrieves the loose puck. Ahead to May. Belanger checked him. Now Brunet can't get loose. And Himmelett will turn. And Bodger flips it ahead. There's Howard Chuck. He's stood up at the line by Odeline. Here's Donald Odette. There's the shot going high. In behind the goal, Odette gives chase, and it's flipped over the glass and out of play.
Chris, you used the phrase summer months here a moment ago. It's interesting how many people connected with the Sabres in these last couple of days have mentioned that Alexander McGillney's hockey year is over and how much he loves to play golf and how his golfing summer of '93 is out the window now as we see a hit that drew a much bigger reaction from the crowd than the Fuhrer save. Ledyard on LeClair. The Canadiens get back with that hit along the boards. And they start to lay on a bit of muscle, but not nearly as much muscle being laid on as a lot of us thought there would be in this hockey game. And Dale Howardchuk in a rather vigorous discussion about something with Paul Stewart. Guy Carbonneau out there to take his face off against Howardchuk. When the game began, Demers had Carbonneau out. That's, was expected. But for the most part tonight, Belanger has worked against Howardchuk, the rookie.
Odette takes Hill to the boards. Wood looking for the loose puck. Now Howardchuk, but it's Daigneault for the Canadiens around the boards for Dion. And Sean Hill. Flipping it in on Grant Fuhrer. Another great golfer, Fuhrer. Understand McGillney has an 8 handicap and he's played for just 2 summers. Here's Donald Odette. He might even give you a run, Dick. There's Howardchuk feeding the point. Nobody there as the Sabres taking some chances now. Their defenseman had moved up on the play. Schmelik was right in front of the net, and that caused the opening back at the point. Carney around the boards. Barnaby back on the ice. Here's a shot from Brisebois wide. Dion against Howardchuk in the corner. Howardchuk up with it. Checked by Dion. Now Howardchuk gets it back again. Kept in at the line as the Canadiens try to head the Sabres in. Dion hit by Carney. Benoit Brunet after it. Belanger's in front. Howardchuk to Barnaby, and he'll turn. The rookie out to Odette. He drops it back, and now Howardchuk goes to the Sabre bench. Brisebois behind the goal. Desjardins up on the left side for Dion, and he flips it out. Hammered right back in by Colin Patterson. Patterson on the '89 Flames, which beat the Canadiens in the Stanley Cup final, but this time he's on the losing end in the 3rd period of Game 4. Cleared in by Bodger and Desjardins. Ahead it goes. Carbonneau the back pass to Ronan with Roberge. They hit the line. Into the corner. Mario Roberge just knocks it behind the goal. Dave Hammond there for Buffalo. Ahead to Erie. Carbonneau with the steal in the zone. The Canadiens captain looking to center. Now feeds back to Odeline. The shot off the shoulder of Fuhrer and out of play. 7 minutes, 15 seconds gone. 3rd period, and tempers getting short in front of the Buffalo net.
Mario Roberge was in the crease. The Sabres didn't like the way he played it, how close he was. So all of this is going on.
We're back in Buffalo with an interesting turn of events at Nassau Coliseum in the Patrick Division final. The Islanders and the Penguins. You saw Tom Fitzgerald score late in the 2nd period to put the Islanders up 2-1 short-handed. And now Fitzgerald goes in again and blasts one to the glove side past Tom Barrasso, his 2nd goal of the game. Now Islanders 3-1.
Looks like the Penguins almost tied it there before the Fitzgerald goal. So the Islanders trying to even that series. Have a 3-1 lead. The Sabres trying to extend this series. Trail 3-1. Bob Erie. His shot off escape wide of the mark. Airy gives chase against Kevin Haller. The former Penguin bumped into DiPietro. Presley at the point. Hit Airy in the back with that passing attempt, and the Canadiens clear it out. No penalties after that scrum prior to the commercial. But you can tell that the feelings are getting a little more intense as time starts to run down on the Sabres. Sutton turns, now feeds it ahead. Hannon, left wing pass. Presley beaten to the puck by Hill. Hill lined up and hammered by Brad May. Oh, you could see that coming. We could. I'm not sure Hill could. And icing the call against Montreal.
The most dangerous zone for the Canadiens would seem to be behind their net. That's where we've seen 2 or 3 very heavy hits. Desjardins took one from Bob Airy in the second period. And right there, very heavy here on Hill. Brad May has him lined up. Hill concentrating on the puck. May concentrating on Hill. And down he goes. But the bottom line through all of that was that the Sabres didn't get a shot on Patrick Roy. And in this second period, in this third period rather, as they try to come from behind by 2, they played 8 minutes and 22 seconds, and Buffalo's managed just 2 shots on goal.
Pat LaFontaine was saying at the start of the series that Brad May could one day be a physical force on the wing like an old line mate of his, Clark Gillies. He showed us a little bit of the Gillies style there. Well, a few moments ago we heard Canadiens fans with their cheer, and now the Sabres fans trying to lift the spirits of their team. Not nearly as loud tonight as it was in the third period of Game 3. Icing again the call against the Canadiens.
We haven't been able to ascertain for you just how much Mario Lemieux is playing in that game tonight in New York. But Scotty Bowman and his club in tough against, I think, probably a rather underrated New York Islanders team, who themselves are playing without their top player, Pierre Turgeon, the former Sabre. Interesting that the 2 key men in that big trade, Chris, of early last season, Turgeon and LaFontaine, are both out of playoff action. This is the first game all year Pat LaFontaine has missed. He played in all 84 regular season games. That doesn't seem fair when you have a player of his caliber having to miss in the playoffs.
From the face-off, Sweeney chopping at it, knocked Daigneault's stick out of his hand. And now Carboneau, he's belted. So the Sabres try to turn up the intensity here now, midway through the third. Odeline checked by Ledger, but Muller moves in for Montreal. They go to the boards. It comes free. John LeClair, the shot. That was blocked and ricochets outside the line. Keane sends it back in. Now 9 minutes gone, third period. Still 3-1 Canadian. And with an update, once again, join Scott.
Well, fellas, you were talking about the surprising Islanders with a 3-1 lead over the Penguins in the Patrick final. The Penguins come back to score 2 goals 21 seconds apart. The first goes to Troy Loney. This one banks in off a couple of legs, and it is mildly disputed by the Islanders, but Loney gets his first to make it 3-2. And then, as we say, 21 seconds later, Rick Tocchet gets the puck at the corner of the crease and just flips it in, his 5th playoff goal. All of a sudden, 3-3, the Penguins and the Islanders.
That's the thing about playing Pittsburgh. I'm going to backtrack now, but boy, when you play those guys, you just, I guess, cannot relax at all. Or they'll jump up and grab you.
Bob Sweeney's line remains out. Brad May, and they've really taken the body in the last couple of minutes against the Canadiens, and each time there's a stoppage now, sticks are getting higher. Here's Carney losing his balance, and he tripped up Muller, who looked like he was going to break away.
The kind of hockey the Sabres played when they began performing at their best in the game here the other night. Exactly what they're starting to do now.
Well, that hit May, and he's offside at the Canadiens line. And with another update from Uniondale, here's Scott.
Dick Irvin, hold that thought, because the New York Islanders have come right back just over a minute after the goal by Rick Tocchet. Derek King deflects a shot. There it is. It comes through, and King will finally get the puck, throw it into the net past Tom Barrasso, his first goal of the playoffs. A 4-3 lead now for the Islanders over the Penguins.
All right, Scott, no more thoughts on that game. That's it. They can score all they want down there. John Muckler seeing time ticking away. They're 36 seconds shy of the halfway point here in the third period.
Well, win or lose, the Islanders have shown a lot of resolve without Pierre Turgeon. Gilbert Dion against the boards. Donald Odette in the corner for Buffalo. Dion works it free. Here he comes. Centers it. And Belanger had it knocked off his stick. There's a shot kicked out by Fuhr. Dion after it again. And now the Sabres get possession. Outlet on the left wing to a former Islander. Randy Wood couldn't get loose. Shot on goal and a rebound. He's back to Belanger in the corner for Brunet. Now the Sabres are tied up in their own zone. And finally Wood sends it down the ice. Desjardins back to touch it. Icing the call against Buffalo.
Well, that's what Jacques Demers wants. We saw a little while ago here what John Muckler wanted his team to do a lot more of. And right there, the Canadiens had the Sabres penned in their end of the ice. And Demers continues to pass the message to his troops. Jacques Demers is third amongst active coaches when it comes to games in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's behind only Scotty Bowman and Al Arbour, but he's way behind those two. They lead everybody all time, and they're battling each other in that other round.
He's done a great job, though, in the playoffs this year. He's used a lot of people, and everybody he seems to insert into the lineup has contributed. People like Paul DiPietro and Ed Ronan, Jesse Belanger, Gary Lehman. There's Bodger feeding right side. Odette is in, can't get the shot away. He tried to pull the trigger, but he was all tied up. Schmelik can't handle Domfus, who sends it down the ice. Bodger going back. And now with 9:17 to go, third period, icing the call against Canadiens.
Yeah, and a pattern developing here, certainly. The Canadiens icing it again, what's that, 3 times now in the last 5 minutes or so. But the 2-goal lead is still there. Now here's the Odette play, and he tried, I don't know if he was faking the first time or just couldn't get the stick down on the ice, but it was the Canadiens defending on him, I guess, really more than anything else. Dino and DiPietro, who double-teamed Odette and prevented him from getting the shot away.
JJ was telling me this has been a far more physical series than the first against Quebec. And especially in this building, where the defensemen don't have much time to react in their own zone. Pete Carbonneau on the face-off in playoff game 144 as the puck cleared wide of the goal. Bodger behind the net. There's Patterson to the side for Howard-Chuck, watched by Daigneault. Schmelik moving in. Howard-Chuck giving chase. And again, the defensemen have to hurry. Barnaby's on the ice without a helmet. Howard-Chuck again, bumping with Daigneault. Schmelik pinching in. Barnaby has it lost in his skates, and the Canadiens do get it out. And now Barnaby mixing it up with Carbonneau. And we may get penalties out of this with 8:49 left, third period, and the Sabres still down by 2.
Now the least experienced player in this game takes on the most experienced player, and Carbonneau and Barnaby end up with penalties. Barnaby for elbowing, Carbonneau for high sticking at 11-11. And I can report to you from coast to coast, we've just had the first fight in this series, but it was in the stands.
In the Adams Division playoffs. So they're 4-on-4 as Ledger spins and gives it to Sutton. Got a pretty good shot. Sutton goes deep and is taken to the boards. Himalay, far side. Nice move on Keane. On the backhand shot. Rebound. Waugh down. Still loose. And Ronan is able to clear it outside the line. Ledger gets back quick and play whistled down. Sutton was shaken up in the goal crease.
Boy, there were bodies and sticks and one bouncing around puck right at the goal crease. The Canadiens got lucky when Ronan took it away. Meanwhile, as a result of all of this, We've got Ken Sutton down on his knees and some ill will developing. Mainly, it seems, on the Sabres' part, directed toward Patrice Brisebois, who's now being convoyed over to the penalty box area. Whether anyone will join him, I don't know, but Sutton is still down. And Stewart pointing first one way, then the other. And I guess the only penalty is going to go to Montreal. So take a look at it now. This was a wild bit of business right around the Canadiens' goal crease. Kind of tough to follow. The puck comes out after Roy seems to lose it. Now, where's Sutton in all of this? Right there. He battles with Brisebois, left or right from the Buffalo player. And then Brisebois drills him from behind. That's when Sutton goes down. He was shaken up. Brisebois was penalized. And the Canadiens were lucky the Sabres didn't get their second goal of the game.
Well, it won't go down as a fight, but it's the first knockdown of the series. And Sutton a little woozy at the Sabre bench.
So now we've got a situation here as yet another hassle breaks out amongst the spectators way up in the top regions. Now we've got a situation here, 4 skaters against 3. There's 8:20 remaining. Paul Stewart has 3 players in the penalty box right now, 2 of them Canadians. So a pretty good chance here for Buffalo. There's still a fair amount of time. Remember, the Canadiens have lost leads. A lot of teams have lost leads in this playoff year.
While we were showing you that replay, for the second time in the game, somebody threw an octopus on the ice.
Well, see, there's some left over in Detroit. They didn't go by the first round, so they brought them over here.
Here's Odette. 4-on-3. Back to Howard-Chuck. And Bodger. Howard-Chuck shot, and they missed the deflection. Odette standing at the side of the goal. Sweeney also up front. Howard-Chuck with room. Fired it wide. Off the backboards for Keane. Backhands to the line. Kept in by Howard-Chuck. Howard-Chuck right on. Sweeney looks for the rebound. Howard-Chuck again. A minute left in the first penalties. And there'll be 5-on-4. The shot. Get a couple in front. Haller can't clear. Odette has it. Donald Odette drops it off. Doug Bodger to Howard-Chuck. Here's the shot. Scores!
Dale Howard-Chuck, the wheelman. The Sabres with the extra man, and they threw it around. Canadiens never did get the puck out of the zone. Howard-Chuck and Bodger did most of the puck handling back toward the blue line. And finally, after several passes back and forth, Howard-Chuck throws it through the crease. It seemed to go off Roy's stick. Just a touch off the stick, and then inside the post on the stick side. And the Sabres have moved to within 1. And this place has come alive again.
Yeah, really, for the first time since the opening goal of the game, the fans are really in it at the odd.
In that power play, the Sabres had 2 shots, and Howard-Chuck had them both.
Well, again, Dick, he's been the best Sabre throughout, and it's fitting that he would score a goal that can give them at least a chance to get back on even terms tonight. It's his 5th goal of these playoffs. His 3rd on the power play, and there's 7.5 minutes left. And everybody's on their feet in Buffalo. Oh, we might have a good finish here. Grant Ledger in. And it's 4-on-4 again. Ledger shoots in front, deflected right on Waugh, who kicked it out. Odette and Bodger get the assists on the goal. And now Wood turns. Randy Wood. Bodger shooting right on. Patrick Waugh challenging Bodger, and the net knocked off its mooring. Play whistle down. With another update, here's Scott.
Mario Lemieux is being only used on the power plays in that Patrick Division Final, game number 4, but he makes it work here behind the net. Mario makes a couple of moves and centers to Kevin Stevens, and Kevin Stevens scores his 3rd goal of the playoffs. That makes it 4-4 Pittsburgh and the Islanders.
What we're going to see here from now on through the next 6:58, I'm sure most of it is a totally different kind of hockey game than what we've seen. The Canadiens were almost lulled. There was nothing happening. The Sabres had only a couple of shots on goal in this period until they got that power play chance. And now everything's come alive.
Just 8 seconds left in those coincidental minors. Then Barnaby and Carbonneau will be back. Donald Odette deep in the zone. 2 teams back at full strength now. And Desjardins flips it. It hit Brad May. He'll get it again and brings it outside the line. Carbonneau. Guy Carbonneau with Keane, and the pass broken up, and Brad May now has it. Big Ken Sutton back on the ice, and he'll drill it in. Brisebois takes a hit. Sutton keeps it in the zone for the Sabres. Odette forechecking. Goes to the far side for Leclerc. John Leclerc can't get it by, well, does get it by Odette, and the Canadiens clear ahead to Kirk Muller. Haven't seen as much of Kirk Muller in this 3rd period. And we're now down to 6 minutes left. In regulation time, 3-2 Canadiens.
Chris Muller's leaving the ice very quickly. He's out there for very short shifts.
Howard Chuck sends it in. Kept in at the point. Keith Carney the shot. That hit a skate but went wide. Bob Sweeney trying to forecheck, but the Canadiens get it out to center. Cleared back by Airy. That bounced off somebody at center. And Sweeney turns. 5.5 minutes left. Bob Sweeney digging off the left wing. Overskates the puck. DiPietro flipped it up the boards. Bodgers pinching in. Presley tried to feed the point, no one there, and Carney will have to go back as the Sabres regroup. 5 minutes, 5 seconds to go. Sabres down by 1 in game 4. Dave Hannon to the line. Don Foose intercepted the pass and clears to center. Grant Ledger flipping it in. Barnaby back on the ice. And Sean Hill skates out, clearing it into the Buffalo zone. Ledger gets it off the backboards, takes a hit around the boards, cut off by Brunet. Benoit Brunet tied up, but he stays after it. Brunet hands off to Don Foose. Vincent Don Foose tries the wraparound again. Brunet, side of the net, still with it. Fuhr is down, puck still loose, and now Barnaby comes out. Here come the Sabres. 3 out to center. Matthew Barnaby at the line, and it's offside. Nobody heard the whistle, and Barnaby and Sean Hill glare at each other. 4:13 left, and Barnaby nailed by Don Foose. Penalty coming up.
The veteran player who should know better has just made a very bad mistake. Vincent Donfus, number 25. The play is stopped, and he clobbers young Matthew Barnaby. Why in the world would Donfus do something like that at a time like this? He gets a 2-minute cross-checking penalty, totally and absolutely without reason. And the Sabres, who trail by 1 and have this crowd pump, are on another power play.
Everybody was on their feet during the break. Standing ovation for the Sabres. Randy Wood. After the puck at the side of the net. Wood controlling along the boards, and now will set it up. Back to Howard-Chuck and Bodger. Dale Howard-Chuck watched by Keane. Odette shot. Pad save, Patrick Waugh. Keane quickly on Howard-Chuck. Kirk Muller, the other penalty killer. Donald Odette takes the shot. Blocked by Brisebois. There's a shot. Just whipped wide by Bodger. Wood behind the goal with Sweeney. Sweeney has trouble with it. Now gets it past Wood along the glass. Howard-Chuck pinching in. Keane can't clear. Bodger, shot right on. Rebound. Odette hit the goalpost. Wood down, and he can't sweep it in. Wood was sprawling and couldn't knock it into the open net, and he'll think about that for quite some time.
Well, you can call that 2 straight wide open nets missed. The first one hit the post with Patrick Roy beaten totally, cleanly, and utterly. And then Wood with the wide open net couldn't reach the puck as it lay there so tantalizingly close. Hard to tell where this replay's coming from. There was so much action. That must be the goal post. It went out the other way off Roy, so it hit on the inside of the post. And then with the Canadian goaltender sprawled, they couldn't put it home, and the Canadiens have called a timeout. Or is it Buffalo? Oh, okay. I thought maybe Montreal.
57 seconds left in the power play. 3:10 in regulation time.
Well, Canadiens in penalty trouble. But before we get to that, here's Scott again with another update.
Dick, wild times here at the Auditorium, wild times at the Nassau Coliseum. Action, reaction. First of all, the Islanders take the lead 5-4 on a nice goal by Vladimir Malakhov, his third of the playoffs, as he keeps and beats Tom Barrasso. That makes it 5-4. But then the Penguins come right back. This one, hard to see who gets the goal, but it's credited to Ron Francis, and that will be his 5th goal of the playoffs. The shot comes from the point by Paul Stanton. It's tipped right there by Francis to make it 5-5. But just like that, the Islanders come right back. There's the shot from the point. It goes back of the Pittsburgh net. Number 20, Ray Ferraro of the Islanders, has a hand in this one. He sends it across the crease to Derek King. His 2nd of the night is past Tom Barrasso. All of a sudden, 6-5 for the Islanders at Nassau County Coliseum.
That's the kind of a game last shot wins. That's not Scotty Bowman type playoff hockey that his Penguins are coming up with tonight.
Well, Jacques Demers said it would not be easy tonight. Well, Howard-Chuck and company are making him look like a prophet. Howard-Chuck keeps it in at the line. Good play there. Botcher, wrist shot wide. Randy Wood. Back to Howard-Chuck, and the one-time pass comes outside the line. 44 seconds to go in the power play. Here's a chance for Odette. Rebound! Oh, another great stop by Patrick Roy. Doug Botcher, Howard-Chuck, the shot block, rebound, loose in front, they bang away and it goes wide. Sabres doing everything but tie it. Bob Sweeney, back in for Odette, Woods in front, Donald Odette, cut off by Daniel. Now it's Botcher. Carbonneau's lost his helmet but got a piece of the shot, and it deflects out of play. 16 seconds left in the power play. 2:29 in the game.
The Sabres have had 6 shots on Patrick Roy in this particular power play, plus the hit goal post. Their last 8 shots have come on power plays. And the Canadiens goaltender has made some remarkable saves, and at the same time has had some remarkable luck. And the score is still 3-2 Montreal. 16 seconds left in the Danfus penalty. 2:29 remaining in regulation time. And it's 3-2 Canadiens. This is reminiscent of the last gasp that the Toronto Maple Leafs came up with last night in St. Louis and the wild finish down there.
And game 4 in that series coming your way tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern. Tomorrow morning for fans on the West Coast. And of course, game 4 of the Canucks and Kings as well. And right from the face-off, it goes into the Canadiens bench.
Yeah, Kirk Muller, you mentioned, Chris, we hadn't seen as much of him as you might expect in a game like this, but I've noticed that he's come off the ice very quickly. He's had short shifts. Here's that last wild sequence, and Guy Carbonneau, without the helmet, blocks the shot. He's considered to be the best shot blocking forward in the league, and he did the job right there.
Now Sutton and Holder are at the points. Howard-Chuck's moved up to center, aligned with Himmelev and May. 15 seconds left in the power play, and it's past Holder out to center. Muller and Keane, the penalty killers, and Keane got a piece of that pass. Gets a piece of Sutton as well. Bill Holder. Long right wing pass. Canadiens back at full strength as Howard-Chuck shoots it into the corner. There's Himmelev. Howard-Chuck behind the goal. Taken to the boards. Brad May tries to push it in front. Holder cheating in. against the boards, and the Canadiens are able to clear it. Under 2 minutes left. Still 3-2 Montreal. Sutton tied up by Vincent Donfus. Lost control to Hannon. And now the Sabres will come back on the attack. They send it in. Brisebois off the boards and right back out again.
You're starting to edge out of the net, looking over toward the Buffalo bench.
Doug Bodger. Cross ice, there's Hannon. Dave Hannon, back to Erie! Oh, he just rolled that wide on a super feed from Dave Hannon. At the point, Presley shot, that hit someone in front. Down goes Erie at the line, kept in, shot, deflecting over the glass with 1:06 to go. And I would suspect Fuhrer will be coming out.
Grant Ledyard made a super play to pick the puck out of the air and keep that play alive, albeit briefly, as the shot in deflected over the glass and out of play. This is a hockey team, the Buffalo Sabres. Just think about it. They don't have Pat LaFontaine, the second highest point scorer in the NHL. They don't have Alexander McGillivray, the highest goal scorer, tied for that honor. The two of them combined for 14 points in their previous series in 4 games against the Boston Bruins. And now Jacques Demers calls the timeout. So we've got a couple of wild ones going on in the Stanley Cup playoffs in the Wales Conference. At the Nassau Coliseum, late third period, the Islanders and Pittsburgh in a shootout. It's still 6-5 New York. So there were some chances and then some. And that's the chance by Bob Erie that went wide. So while the Canadiens gather around their bench, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of a meeting. Jacques Demers just wants a timeout in the strictest sense of the word, a physical timeout, not anything to do with strategy. Marois didn't even leave the goal crease. There's Peter Svoboda, who's being kidded for being the highest paid translator in the world today. He's behind the bench to help relay some messages to Richard Schmelik, the defenseman who from Czechoslovakia and has problems understanding in the heat of the moment sometimes the instructions that are flying about the bench area.
Shots are 12-5 in this third period, favoring Buffalo. They've outshot the Canadiens 27-21 in the game. And Grant Fuhrer is on the bench. Well, we saw the Nordiques do it against the Canadiens, pull their goalie and score twice to tie a game and win it in overtime. They only need one, but they've only got 66 seconds to do it. Everybody on their feet. Sweeney against Carbonneau. Howard-Chuck, Wood, Odette, Himalev, and Bodger. 5 forwards on the ice. Carbonneau kicks at it, but Sweeney has possession. Desjardins blocked that. Under a minute to go. In front, Odeline tied up. Frantic action in front of the goal, and Carbonneau around the boards. Kept in by Bodger. He gloves it against Keane, and now Carbonneau slides it down the ice. This may not have enough steam for icing. Yes, it does. Howard-Chuck touches it.
He had about 6 inches left to get over that line, and that's all. And there you see the scene behind the Canadiens bench. And if you have just joined us, yes, that is Denny Savard, serving in a coaching role here tonight. And it's hard to say what Demers is arguing about. It looks like he's claiming a hand pass should have been called against Buffalo, but it wasn't. So be that as it may, the faceoff is in the Canadian zone. It looked like there'd be this kind of a finish, Chris, to this game for a long time here. The fans sitting on their hands, they didn't have much to cheer about. But right now, the Sabres giving it a terrific effort to try to tie it and send this series, a game in this series, into overtime for the 3rd straight time.
It was pretty quiet in here for 50 minutes, but the goal at 12:30 of the third period by Howard-Chuck has Buffalo within 1. Howard-Chuck wins the draw. Bodger shot is blocked by Keane, and now an open net for Kirk Muller and Carbonneau. Guy Carbonneau, can he go 3 games in a row? No, it's blocked, and Carbonneau got a couple of injured players down as play turns up ice. And Paul Stewart has blown play dead with Carbonneau down, and that looks like Bodger down as well. It is.
Both trainers off the bench. There were several on the Sabres bench who were really wild that Stewart blew the whistle on the rush. The pain in the face of Bodger. Carbonneau was down. The two of them hit the deck. And I must confess, watching the puck come back out after the missed chance by Carbonneau, I did not see what happened. Bottom right of your screen, I'm told. Carbonneau with the shot. Bodger comes in, and there's the collision. Carbonneau hit high, and it would appear that Bodger, the contact was low in the knee area. In some ways, it was, it wasn't that dead-on collision, but boy, that was one that obviously hit each guy at the wrong place. And Carbonneau is groggy, it would appear, and Bodger has the problem with his knee. What a chance that was for the Canadiens, with Muller and Carbonneau breaking down ice with the net empty. And the Canadian captain.
Dave Hannon's been assessed a 10-minute misconduct.
Because of his action on the bench, it was Hannon who was the most vocal, banging his stick on the boards at the referee. And there's Doug Bodger. He has played a terrific third period here tonight. His play at the point has been outstanding for Buffalo in power play situations and in this situation. But he is in a lot of trouble with the knee. Carbonneau is woozy. The bells are still ringing for the Canadiens captain by the look of that. And there's 23.1 seconds of playing time left.
Real example, though, of these two teams at maximum effort in the dying seconds of a game. Bodger trying to keep his team alive, and Carbonneau trying to end the series and clinch it for the Canadiens. And so we will have a face-off at center ice. 23.1 seconds left. Fuhr will stay out, or will stay on the Sabre bench. Tell you, if John Muckler had his druthers, though, he'd have Doug Bodger out right now.
That's right. No, he's been the key guy. He and Howardchuk have been the two offensive stars, and Carbonneau is in no shape to go back.
And you know Jacques Demers would love to have him out there right now.
It's likewise for Muckler and Bodger, obviously. All right, 23 seconds left. Can the Sabres do it?
They get control. Here's Odette sending it in. Himalev gives chase against Odelai. Bob Sweeney against the boards. Cleared up. Howardchuk keeps it in. Sweeney has it hop over his stick. Countdown on. Centering. He scores! Himalev!
If you're superstitious and a Montreal fan, 13 is an unlucky number. And what a time for Yuri Himalev to score his first goal. Will you see the time that's left? The Sabres control that faceoff in the neutral zone. Shot the puck in on the right side, and then the fun started. Back and forth around behind the net. Himalev parked out in front. He may have knocked the puck out of the air. He sliced at it anyway from directly in front of the crease. And this thing's going to go into overtime unless there's another miracle in store. Here he is getting away from Desjardins, who had dropped his stick, it looks like. And it's 3-3 in a wild Memorial Coliseum and Auditorium in Buffalo. Oh, what a comeback for Buffalo. And in 9.2 seconds, both these teams will go into overtime for the 6th time in these playoffs.
Well, they got their money's worth, didn't they?
Oh, boy.
Dick, they tell us the Sabres have never tied a game in the final minute of a playoff game. Jacques Lemaire scored a tying goal for Montreal against Buffalo in the final minute back a few years ago to force an overtime, and it appears that's where we're headed again, and it's momentum Buffalo.
With 0.4 of a second left, J.J. Daigneault felt the crunch of Brad May and Bob Sweeney. And they're telling the clock to wind down, that the period is over.
So the Adams final will continue into overtime of Game 4. Buffalo won 3 games against Boston in overtime in a sweep. They'll try to avoid that fate when we head to sudden death of Game 4 in the final against Montreal. And we'll return with our Stanley Cup playoff overtime intermission in a moment. A lot of those hits very late third period as the intensity kept gaining, especially on the part of the Sabres. And now we're set for the 3rd overtime in this series. Dick, you mentioned it at the time, a 3-1, a save by Fjord on Brian Bellows. I'm not sure how many people here at the Odd thought the Sabres could use that and bounce back in the 3rd. And after that save, Patrick Roy was under siege.
Wonder what Kirk Muller and Guy Carbonneau might think of that 2-man rush up the ice situation with the Buffalo net empty on the play that saw Carbonneau and Bodger injured. Now, Bodger did not come back. And I can't quite see the Montreal bench totally from where we are.
Don't see Carbonneau there.
He's not back. No, just checking, leaning way out here. So Carbonneau and Bodger shaken up in that collision. Both of them not answering the call here to start overtime.
Odette, Wood, and Howard-Chuck up front for the Sabres. Canadians have Dom Foose, Bellows, and DiPietro out there. Howard-Chuck had a goal and an assist in the 3rd period to help lead the Sabres back to even terms. Puck cleared out to center. The tying goal was at 1950. Himalev, his 4th of the playoffs from Wood, and they added the assist to Howard-Chuck during the intermission. Brisebois back to get it. Brad May now on the ice. Canadians 4 wins, 1 loss in overtime, 4 wins in a row. And icing is the call on another heavy hit, and Keith Carney's been shaken up on that collision with Paul DiPietro.
And Ledger took a run at DiPietro, and the linesmen get in there, and now Brad May comes over to DiPietro, and Carney's been hurt on the right side, the arm, the wrist, what have you. Here it is here. Not a very good play by the Canadiens to start overtime with the icing call against them. But now this is the collision. The funny thing is, he went out, it seems he hit the left side of his body, but he went out favoring the right arm, was jammed between himself and DiPietro.
May have been the way he landed here on the right wrist.
Well, the New York Islanders have evened their series. There it is. The Penguins in a shootout. After limiting the Islanders to just 1 goal the previous 2 games, they get 6 on Tom Barrasso tonight, and there's the ice pack going on the wrist of number 6, Keith Hardy.
With that in mind, we understand Paul Coffey going for x-rays. They now suspecting the injured Red Wing may have broken his wrist in the series against Toronto.
Now, quite a situation here, Chris. The hometown fans wondering if this is going to be the end for their team, or will they indeed be in Montreal Monday night?
Puck along the boards, and Sweeney gets it out to center ice. Here's Brad May, Holder on the left side. May barging, shoots, and Patrick Roy the stop. May went crashing into the Canadiens netminder, and he is taken down in turn. And Paul Stewart's going to call penalties. Let's see if he has 1 or 2.
It's hard to tell. He was waving his arms around again. Now here comes Doug Bodger out of the dressing room area. Meanwhile, we're looking at the replay. Brad May, a hero 2 weeks ago tonight on May Day, and he was close to being a hero again. Roy stopped him. May's in the penalty box as we come back live, watching the Canadiens goaltender. The Montreal penalty door is open, but I don't know if anybody's going to go in because they've got 2 minutes up against the Buffalo player. Now Sean Hill goes in the box, and there's 2 minutes up against Hill. And Doug Bodger is back on the Buffalo bench.
You see Dave Hannon also in. He received the 10-minute misconduct late in the third period prior to the tying goal.
Got the feeling this won't be a long overtime.
It's got that feel. It actually felt like May Day all over again for a moment when Brad May burst through. Canadiens 7-game win streak on the line here. Again, 4 wins in overtime. The Sabres 3-2, and Howard Chuck back wins the faceoff. Knocked towards the boards, and Desjardins picks it up. Don Foose out there, 4-on-4, creating a lot of open ice for perhaps the winning goal. Don Foose rubbed out. Here's a chance in front. At the point, Desjardins shot blocked by Odette. Jesse Belanger is the other forward for the Canadiens, and now Holder, the Sabre defenseman, checked, and it comes back to Ledger. Grant Ledger to Howard Chuck. Donald Odette. You heard George Donnelly pick him. Odette's been a force in the last couple of games for the Sabres on the wing with Howard Chuck. And Ledger turns in his own zone. 1:07 to go in the coincidental minors as Howard Chuck backhands it in and heads to the bench. Out comes Sweeney with Himalev, who tied this game. Himalev had an overtime goal against Boston. Bob Sweeney did too. Here they come. Sutton fires it in. Sweeney gives chase, and Daigneault beat him to the puck. Schmelik missed Sweeney with the pass, and out come the Canadiens. DiPietro almost had a break. Pure off the boards. And Himalev turns with Sweeney. Yuri Himalev. A wrist shot right on. He'll chase the rebound. Feeds Schmelik at the point. Cross ice. Holder shot right on. DiPietro off the glass. Pass Holder down the ice. And icing the call.
That cross-ice pass from Schmelik to Holder was almost a disaster for Buffalo. Brian Bellows couldn't have been more than 6 inches away from picking that puck up right at the blue line directly between the 2 defensemen. He'd have had a clear path to Grant Fuhr. That would have been a pretty good matchup, but it's the if situation, and it didn't happen. 12 seconds left in the penalties. And most of the play has been headed toward the Montreal end of the rink and inside the Montreal blue line in this overtime period.
.259 gone. Presley and Airy for Buffalo. Muller and Keane up front for Montreal. Ledger and Holder waiting at the point, and Holder gets the puck. Ledger shot just wide. Off the backboards, was down. Presley gets it back to Ledger. Grant Ledger, the veteran defenseman, spins it back into the corner. Now the two teams at full strength. Holder at center to Airy. Now May. Brad May goes deep against Desjardins, centers it. Ledger keeps it in. Presley behind the goal. Airy on the far side against Desjardins. Bob Airy off the boards. Howard Chuck's back out. He set a pick, but Airy lost control. Howard Chuck tries to center. Howard Chuck, backhand. Patrick Waugh makes the stop and held on long enough, and Howard Chuck shows his displeasure with the quick whistle.
This has been a very one-sided overtime through the first 3 minutes and 48 seconds. The Canadiens haven't come close to even directing a shot toward Grant Fuhr. Patrick Waugh has had to make 4 stops, and anytime you've got to make any kind of a stop in overtime, it's a difficult one. Here's the work by the workhorse, Dale Hawerchuk. And Waugh had the angle covered and held on to the puck long enough, as Chris mentioned, for the whistle to go. Stewart losing sight. But we are seeing quite a performance by this young man, number 10, Dale Hawerchuk, who had to pick it up with the absence of LaFontaine and McGildy, and he has done just that here tonight.
He had 3 shots on goal in the third period, 5 for the game through 60 minutes. Pulled the draw back, and Holder has it. Bill Holder looking to center. Now Brisebois gets it ahead, and it's flipped by Gilbert Dion down the ice, and there's Brunet after it. The young Canadian forward, and it's called on an offside, and Brunet has words with Odette.
Now, the other night, the Sabres had 4 shots in overtime. The next shot was by the Canadiens, and it went in. Jacques Demers would kind of like to have that situation repeat rather quickly.
Again, we'd like to salute the people that make Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC possible. Alan Clark, Ron Harrison, our producer here in Buffalo, and throughout this Adams final, Ed Milliken, Ronaldo De Cesare, our director, and the rest of the crew who have provided the pictures of this series, which may end tonight, but then again may continue on Monday at the Forum in Montreal. And midway through the third period, we didn't think that was really a strong option. At the point, Sutton shot right on. Daniel clears the rebound. Brunet can't get it out. Sutton cleared it back in. Now the Canadiens get it outside the line. Here's Gilbert Dion. Wrist shot goes wide. Oh, Dion had loved to score a clean one tonight after the controversy in Game 3. Hawerchuk to Odette. There's the shot. Another pad saved by Patrick. Brunet hit by Wood. Hawerchuk knocks it loose. Sutton shot, an easy stop. And Daniel there. Around the boards. Sutton pinching again. And out come the Canadiens. Brunet hooked down. And it'll take even more than that to get a penalty. In overtime, here's Brian Bellows directing it at the net, deflected off the stick of Fuhr out of play.
Oh, boy. Well, the whistle's in the pocket, I think, for Stewart. And Jacques Demers is, for one of the few times in this playoff year, very upset at a referee. Here it comes right here. And the play went right on, as announcers say, when they think maybe a penalty should have been called. There's no doubt what Jacques Demers thought about it. 7 shots for Buffalo in this overtime to 1 for Montreal. But the game is still going on.
DiPietro, Bellows, Dom Foose out for the Canadiens. Himalev, Sweeney, and May for the Sabres. We've played 4:53 of overtime. Dom Foose and Ledger fencing along the near boards, and Kevin Collins stops proceedings and sends them a warning. Puck dropped in, and Sabres control again off the faceoff. Grant Ledger to Sweeney, out to center. Left wing feed, just a stride too far for May. Waugh has to play it. Brad May again. A force along the boards. Kicks it free. Cleared around the boards by the Canadiens and down the ice. And Holder touches it for icing.
This crowd hasn't stopped since that goal. The power play goal with 7.5 minutes left in the third period put the Sabres back in the game. It was a very quiet, docile crowd. From a noise standpoint, well, there were a lot of fights in the crowd at one point. There's Stéphane Lebeau in the white shirt, one of the injured members of the Canadiens, looking on. Lou Carmelo not coming back to play in overtime. Doug Bodger did come out after a couple of minutes of overtime. They were involved in a heavy collision. And Bodger hasn't been on the ice yet as a player, but he is on the bench. Maybe for inspirational purposes.
Excuse me, Dick. John Muckler double shifting Dale Howardchuk again. He is out with Presley and Airy. DiPietro and Howardchuk were scheduled on this face-off, but Howardchuk has words with Kevin Collins and exits. So it will be Presley against DiPietro. Canadiens control. DiPietro off the boards, looking for Dom Foose. At center ice. Holder's backhand hit Dom Foose. And now Desjardins will send it in. Holder back to Ledger. There's a pass that should have been picked off and just bounced over Bellows' stick. You can hear the crowd groaning on the apparent giveaway. Ledger's shot on the short side. Kevin Haller up to Dom Foose. And at center, Holder, who played most of the year in the International League with San Diego under former Sabre coach Rick Dudley. And here he is in overtime of Game 4 of this Adams final. Bob Airy. Patrick Waugh playing it. John LeClair on the left wing. And Presley there for Buffalo sends it right back in. There's May scooting after it. Almost spun away from his check. Now Daigneault sends it ahead. Here come the Canadiens. John LeClair into the zone. Still looking for his first goal of these playoffs. Muller's on the ice. So is Mike Keane. Muller along the boards. Tied up by Schmelik. And they get a whistle.
We talked about a quick one. Now there's 6:46 gone in overtime.
Might be double overtime like these two teams put on twice in Toronto.
1 o'clock tomorrow Eastern. Game 4 from the St. Louis Arena. The Leafs try to get back even. And the Canucks will try to get back on even terms with the Kings. 5 o'clock Pacific time. The doubleheader on Mother's Day on Hockey Night in Canada.
Man, those series have been so good that even all the mums will likely be watching. There's the man who forced overtime with that dramatic goal. 10 seconds remaining in regulation time. Himalev out with Sweeney and May. Ron Finn drops it in. Muller trying to go around Sweeney and break right in from the faceoff. In Sutton at center. Here's Himalev. Missed May with the pass. May after it. He's offside.
Well, slowed down just a little bit. The Sabres had a great start to overtime. But the last couple of minutes, Brad May and company. And the Canadiens have sort of been in a soft situation, but we saw May. He had perhaps the best chance. May and Howardchuk have had the best scoring chances in overtime.
Former member of the Niagara Falls Thunder. Just down the road. And look who's out.
Shots are 8-1 Buffalo.
Schmelik to Sutton, and he'll fire it in. Howardchuk tied up with Dion. Odette looks for the loose puck. Donald Odette to Howardchuk, and a weak shot. Wood back to Sutton over his stick and down the ice, and now we've got a race for it. Brunet after it against Schmelik. Benoit Brunet is deep. Gilbert Dion behind the goal. Flipped in front. Howard-Chuck there. He clears it outside the line. Sent back in. Dion awaiting it. Takes a shot. Kicked out by Pure. And it's Howard-Chuck wearing the C tonight in place of the injured Pat LaFontaine. And Howard-Chuck stays out. DiPietro at center. Domfus left side. Vincent Domfus beats one man. Now checked by Holder. Kept in at the line. Holder brings it down. And he'll skate out. Tied up by Domfus. And he overskates the puck. Bob Airy flips it in. We've played 8 minutes of overtime. Sabres and Canadiens tied at 3. And for the 4th consecutive game, we can safely say the final score will be 4-3. Domfus against Holder. Brian Bellows shot right on. And back comes Airy. Hits the line. Bob Sweeney on the right wing. Watched by Desjardins. Airy behind the goal. There's Presley. Tried to get it to the point. Broken up. Great play by Sutton to keep it in the zone. Dangerous play, but a good one. Now Muller takes a hit at the line. And Sutton clears it back in. Brad May, first one in the corner. Himmelev behind the net. Howard-Chuck back out again. Howard-Chuck taken off the puck, and the Canadiens clear it. 9 minutes gone in overtime. And icing the call.
Hayes finally got a good crack at Fuhr on the shot by Bellows, but the Buffalo goaltender had it perfectly played. Well, we'll have our Molson 3 stars for you after the game, and there is no question. Let's not even speculate that the Sabres number 10, Dale Howard-Chuck.
We've clocked him at over 28 minutes in this game already. And here's the Fuhr stop on Brian Bellows.
Yeah, it came from well out. I mean, Fuhr saw it all the way.
From the face-off, Daigneault gets control for Canadiens and feeds left wing to John Leclerc. In the middle it goes to Muller. Leclerc goes to the net. Leclerc stopped by Fuhr. Rebound. Oh, what a save off Mike Keane. That's the Grant Fuhr of old. Here's the giveaway, and Howard-Chuck shoots. Patrick Roy saves short side. Oh, they could cheer Grant Fuhr now. And they are standing.
And it's about time. Vintage Fuhr. And the folks in Edmonton looking in will have memories of things like this. Leclerc in front of the net. Keane gets the rebound, and Fuhr makes the save. We are seeing some pretty good goaltending. It's almost cliche time when you say it's too bad one of them's going to have to lose. The giveaway off the stick of Brisebois. Who would you want if you're a Sabre fan? Howard-Chuck. He gets the chance. Roy makes the save. Short side.
9 minutes, 28 seconds into overtime. And two of the best who've ever tended goal going head to head. Sweeney wins the draw. Holder a shot, doesn't get through. There's Odette. Watched by Desjardins. Donald Odette behind the goal. Woods parked in front. And it goes to the crease. Past Woods. Kept in by Ledger. There's the shot. Loose front. Oh, Odette rolled it wide. And Wood was buried in the net. And play whistle down.
Everything in but the puck.
And Randy Wood has more than a few words for Kevin Haller, I believe.
There's the chance in front. Wood trying for a deflection really right at the crease. Obviously he didn't connect. He's nailed. Faceoff will be in the Canadian zone again.
Greg Ramsey had an interesting comment after Game 3. He said, the dominant goaltenders since the mid-'80s have been Patrick Roy and Grant Fuhr, and they are facing each other in this series. The next two dominant goaltenders are likely facing each other in that Norris final. Curtis Joseph and Felix Potvin. Kevin Collins drops it in, and the Canadiens control. Schmelik at the right point, and Domfus bats it past him. And Howard-Chuck skating miles is back for Buffalo. Ahead it goes to Odette and Wood. Now on the right side for Howard-Chuck. He knifes it in against Daigneault. But the Canadiens defenseman has it, and now Wood takes his man into the net. And are we going to get a penalty? Patrice Brisebois shaken up. And Paul Stewart will confer with linesman Kevin Collins.
The linesman can call stick infractions. Now Randy Wood was upset from the previous play when he ended up in the net, and he tried to put Brisebois exactly in the same spot where he had been a few minutes before, and there it is there. The stick goes up. Now the question is there a penalty call? And the conversation is still going on. Stick up, the defenseman down, and the net knocked askew. And I don't think there's going to be a penalty, Chris, because Stewart hasn't moved, and now the Canadiens are talking to him.
And Randy Wood is escaping to the confines of the Buffalo bench.
So you look at this overtime, and the Sabres have dodged a couple of officiating bullets. And Brisebois is upset, and he's cut a little bit as well.
I'm not sure it has been completely determined whether or not Brisebois did score the overtime goal in Game 3, but Jacques Demers was saying after the game that Patrice Brisebois really paid a price in that game, and he said it would have been fitting had Brisebois gotten credit for the goal.
He's gained some few admirers that he didn't have maybe during the season with his play in the playoffs, and he seems to be in the middle of a lot of things like this. They're running at him. He's a kid. He's the least robust physically of any of the Montreal defense, so the opposition tries to take advantage of that. As we just saw right there. Face-off outside the Canadiens line. They just passed the halfway point. We play 10-13 in this first overtime intermission. Or first overtime period, rather.
There's Kevin Haller backhanding it into the Buffalo zone. First man after John LeClair. They came close in the last shift, LeClair and Keane, but Brad May sends it right wing to Himmelab. He'll fire it in, strange hop, goes after the rebound, couldn't get his stick on it, and LeClair turns back. John LeClair for the Canadiens. Goes to his backhand. He recovers short side. Sutton's lost his stick and wisely falls on the puck.
Yeah, Canadiens lucky on that bounce off the backboards that there wasn't a saber right there as it came directly out. Boy, we've seen a lot of that sort of thing in this game tonight. John LeClair is always given credit for having one of the hardest, if not the hardest shot on the Canadiens, and he doesn't ever seem to use it enough. Now the puck comes out off the boards. Now LeClair has it. What am I going to do with it? He came to a dead stop and then starts up ice. Boy, there's so many of these young players, Chris, this year in the playoffs are getting so much extra experience with all of these overtime games. Stewart holding things up, talking to somebody through the glass down at the Montreal end of the ice.
I'm not sure he wasn't checking to make sure that door was properly closed. That's exactly where the puck caromed off and took a strange hop in front of the Canadiens bench. Although we've seen Paul twice in. There's Muller at the point. Odeline tees it up, shot right on. Himmelab starts back with Sweeney. He'll flip it in. It bounces over Odeline's stick. Brad May and Odeline go to the boards. Himmelab with a big hit on LeClair, but LeClair up with the puck. Now Keane knocked down by Himmelab. May sends it to the net. Rebound all the way out to Muller. Kirk Muller hounded by Himmelab, who takes it away. LeClair can't get Wood on him. The Sabres winning more of the battles right now for the puck. Muller backhands it in. That hit Ron Finn. Cross ice pass. Daigneault breaks it up. Here come the Canadiens. Kirk Muller shot, scores! Canadiens win the series in 4 straight.
Well, a tough one for Grant Fuhr. And Jacques Demers, for some reason, when his team is celebrating, is arguing with the officials. And his players have to come over and haul him away. A strange sight indeed for a victorious coach whose team wins a series in overtime. Grant Fuhr, if we can get a shot of the Buffalo goal crease, is still on his knees. And where the Canadian players are congratulating each other, most of the Buffalo players are consoling an obviously broken-hearted Sabre goaltender who probably feels he should have had the shot off the stick of this man, Kirk Muller. And if you're talking, Chris, about players who it's fitting that they score, it would have been Howard Chuck for Buffalo in that regard, and almost any night you want to name, it could be Kirk Muller. Here it comes from the face-off circle. It hits Fuhr on the way in, but I don't think he really saw the puck coming to him. It hit his stick hand. Right there. It did clunk off his glove, drop down, and the Canadiens have won the series. And the handshakes are taking place as we watch the immediate post-goal celebrations by the Montreal players.